Welcome, everyone. I'll put them on the spot. Hi, where are you from? Hey? Ikako. Is Ikako also that looks after? Amazing. The ladies there, hi, good morning, hi. Where are you guys from? Also great to have you with us this morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third edition of the Arise Women of Africa Symposium. Now, we are here today to be empowered, and that's through real, honest conversations, engaging dialogue, and shared experiences that should leave us a changed person today. I am Lebo Motsoeli. They do sometimes call me Motsoeli from Broadcasting Days. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Future Nurses Nursing School. Now, that is one of only 4 female, Black-owned, accredited nursing institutions in the country. And it's a position I've held for 4 years. But I'm also a broadcast extraordinaire, TV and radio for the past 20 years. And it's really, really great to be with you this morning and to be part of what's going to be a really exciting morning. Now, I'd like to also thank, before we go any further, the partners that have made this possible, the Sport for Social Change Network Africa, and they are also in partnership with the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture South Africa for giving us the platform to come here this morning and engage. Today, as I said, is all about empowerment and with the aim of supporting, inspiring, and providing some sort of hope for women and girls. Our objective is to advocate and to rally for stronger action that is much needed in the country and outcomes for women's rights. The policies are there, we hear about them. There's laws, the Constitution says this and that, but the opposite we're finding in our homes. I'm pretty sure each and every person here can say, I know of someone who's doing ABC to a girl child, to a lady, to a woman, to an aunt, and we are all afraid to take them to the authorities. The policies are there, but nothing is being done. So on that note, let's give a warm welcome to the CEO of Gauteng Film Commission and chairperson of SSCN. She's a seasoned executive and has held high-profile positions, and was also announced by the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, as one of 2 CEOs recognized at the Future of HR Awards in 2019. She is a trained life coach, mentor, and MBA graduate. We're not playing today, ladies and gentlemen. For the official opening remarks, here's Kitty Milton-Nevada.
Good morning, ladies and some gentlemen joining us in the room today. You know, we always love it when the gentlemen join us when we discuss women issues. Because we understand that there are places that as women we can reach. And we therefore need to use the influence of the men to kick doors, enter rooms that we can't. I personally do not believe in just women walking alone, but taking all of us together. My personal journey, I have had experience of both men who've supported me and men who victimized and bullied me. And the same goes for women. So life requires us to have enough wisdom to recognize the people who will pull us up in our journey and help us achieve our dreams, our visions, and our purposes, whatever your calling is in your respective space. Be it a boardroom, be it a stage, be it a sports field, we all have a special purpose to fulfill. You know, they normally say that even twins don't have the same fingerprints. Therefore, it says to us as women that there is something very unique that you can do, a change that you can lead, that nobody else can lead, because your experiences are unique to you. There are no 2 women with the same experiences. With that said, let me also thank the SSCN and the department for allowing us this platform. As I stand here, I represent the SSCN, And they really do stand for what their name says. They lead change. And they not only lead change using sports, but they use change using conversations. Because some of the breakthroughs that we need is through the conversations that we're having. Some of the aha moments that we need is listening to somebody and knowing how they have overcome. I don't know why I'm going this direction. It's not my I just feel prompted just to go through this direction. And as this SSCN, we've had these conversations over years, and we are at a point where we are saying, let us partner with businesses and individuals in the room. We no longer want to have these conversations, but we want to come to a point where we offer practical skills that enable women to do better in their various spaces. We want to be able to lead breakthroughs, even if it's mindset, even if it's us providing certain skills. So as an entity, we are saying, if you know that you can make a difference, come join us. If you know that you can help us unlock funds, come join us. Because this is not a journey that we can travel alone. We know very well that gender is a social contrast. And over the years, the social contrast of gender has been challenged. Men have been previously appointed as providers, and it's no longer the case. And they're no longer the sole generator of income in households. I read a research by Barbara Risman that analyzes how society has a gender structure, that each one has implication at the level of individual analysis and shapes interactional expectations. At the heart of it is gender norms, behavior, and institutional levels in organization. You know, I'm also doing my PhD, and I am focusing on women leaders and also examining the gender bias that still exists. Because 30 years post-democracy, you see a number of women going into the workplaces. But the workplaces themselves have not changed. Women are not as accommodated as they should be. We still find barriers administratively where women, when you get to a certain level, particularly in certain industries, there is therefore a ceiling. Women find it difficult to go up. And when they do go up, it's a challenge for them to stay because they face so many challenges. I, as a person, have been a CEO of 2 institutional public entities. I've had to deal with victimization. I've had to deal with bullying all throughout my leadership journey. I've had to deal with being the only woman at certain times in the room, or one of 2. I've had to deal with being excluded in the boys' club, because the boys' club is where the decisions are made. And when you therefore come into the boardroom, you come to a space where decisions have been made. I've at one point in my life found myself having to take care of my health in a mental health institution for 20 days. Because at times we just take so much trauma. And at times you get to a point where your mind and your body can no longer take this any longer. And where you now need to say, how do I proceed? And how do I lead for myself and also for my children? And we know that even in sports, we still face a lot of challenges as women. There are still a lot of gender segregation in sports. And when you look into the main separation, it's one word: gender. We still find that even in media coverage, if you look between male and female sports, male sports are covered widely, whereas female sports, we still have a huge challenge. The focus is still on men. We need to get to a point as a society, as a country, where we start celebrating women athletes and women practitioners over and just above the key events like the athletics as we see at this current point. We do know that the barriers are also linked to social, cultural factors that we need to find a way of us dealing with as women. And I believe that as women, there comes a time when we need to come together and then take action. There also comes a time where when we push women in leadership positions, we are then able to say, we're not putting you there to look also beautiful, also lovely, but we're putting you there to make sure that you put in policies, implement policies that bring other women with. We need to get over the point of, as women, as, backstabbing each other, sabotaging each other, but to a point of saying, how do we support each other? Whatever your boardroom is, we need to deal with that. But we also need to talk about issues of sexual harassment and abuse in sport, which is a subject that is rarely spoken about. It is spoken about, but behind closed doors.
Hello.
And if we don't talk about it publicly, we don't educate more women, we don't empower more women. We need to start using digital platforms like our TikTok, Facebook, to start sharing our stories, because once we share our stories, we empower each other. At times, you don't need to do much. Tell me your story, and I know I can make it. Tell me your story, and I know I can get inspiration. Tell me your story, and I know that if you can rise up, I too can rise up. Tell me your story, and I know that as an entrepreneur, this is how you've made it. I too can make it. With that said, I'd like to welcome you. And my final words is, as we journey through this Women's Month, let us find another woman to support. Let us find another girl child that we can support. It can be your neighbor, it can be your colleague. Let us just take a deliberate decision. Let it not just be an August month discussion or more of a religious action where women know they're coming together, but let it be within us. When you see another woman suffering, find a way of reaching out. If you can't help, find a way of connecting them to various places of help so that they too can thrive. My motto is no woman should be left behind. We all must thrive. And with that said, I've got a book coming out in November, and I'll invite all of you. It's called Thrive. I've documented all my leadership journey in that book. And I've touched on all the topics from dealing with wearing different caps as a woman, a mother, a business person, and issues of mental health and how you can overcome. And my key message is, as women, we should not be stuck. Let us walk the journey together and let us thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lebaka. I must say, Ms. Lebaka is my personal, she doesn't know it yet, but I truly, truly follow her. And I think she's absolutely incredible, inspirational. I am looking forward to the book coming out, Thrive. I'll be the first one to get it. Your journey is inspiring. And she's quietly going about the business of changing a woman's life one step and one day at a time. She's not making a big noise about it. All you can do is see the changes that she's making on the journey that she's covered. And I'm also grateful for the fact that you've highlighted the fact that we don't walk alone as women. Very often we want to walk as a woman and then leave the men behind. We can do this together. One needs the other to get to the next point. So we all have a purpose, you mentioned, and as you rise, we rise together. And what I'm also taking from it is that as women, we need to be intentional and be committed to our journeys. Be intentional about what you want, how you want it, how you're going to get there. Stay dedicated and focused to the route that's going to get you to the next place. On that note, today, I'd like to say I'm going to take you through a very emotional journey. One that doesn't need me to quite give it an intro, but our speaker today shares a story. And with that, she weaves in the strands of her life's philosophy that we may not always be in control of the circumstances that we find ourselves in, but we can always control what we do about them. Let's give her a big warm welcome. With Alison Botha, activist, motivational speaker, and gender based violence survivor.
Thank you for letting me share with you. I never get tired of having the opportunity of sharing a story, which, yes, I mean, it's horrible, let's face it. But the things that came out of it, the lessons that have come out of it, the growth that has come out of it just in my life and in sharing with other people, people have shared with me how much of a difference it's made to them. That I can stand here now and say that if I could go back in time and make that whole thing unhappen, I wouldn't do it. I know it's hard. It was hard at first to admit that or to say that, but I know now that if I had to give up everything that's happened since, I would rather go through that night again. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all get to that place? Because I think we're all adult enough in this room to know that we can't go back in time and change anything. Can you hear? Not here. You're not hearing. None of us can. We don't get the chance to go back in time. So what we should all be trying to get to is a place of acceptance of what it is that has happened in our lives. Which I don't get a choice of. Hey? I didn't choose this. And in this room, all of you are going to have stories. And yes, this sharing of stories is such a important, wonderful thing that I'm just glad I have a story to share and that you're giving me the opportunity to share it. But it's a wonderful thing to be able to share and learn from other people. Are we good? Because I can hear I disappear all the time. Okay, I'm gonna sit here. Excuse the video, by the way. It's like 30 years old. and that was all 30 years ago, can you believe it? And about 30 kilos ago as well, unfortunately. But yes, I remember it as if it happened yesterday, if I need to, which most of the time I don't need to. Please know I'm not living it every time I share my story. I don't think I would be able to do it. I wouldn't want to do it if I did. I get more passionate about trying to share the things that you can actually take from it, you know. Why I share my story is probably one of the questions I'm asked most often by people, because it is a horrible story. It is something that we would think that someone would choose not to talk about. But for me, if someone else can learn something positive from what I went through, then there's no reason for me accepting for having had it happen, if you know what I mean. So if some good can come out of it, then the bad becomes that much less. And I think over the years, I can honestly say that I think the bad is way outweighed now by the good that has come out of what has happened to me. I use the video clip to give some background because I know it's happened a long time ago and some of you might not even remember it. There have been a lot of other stories. Let's face it, there are a lot of these kind of stories going around. But they have got power in them. And I want to share with you not so much about what happened to me, that's why I let you see it in the video, but some of the things that I was able to use in overcoming what happened to me. And it's not that we overcome and get to a place ever of saying, I've reached the top, I am there. I'm still someone who has to choose every day to be bigger than what happened to me and be bigger than even what happened to me yesterday and 30 years ago. I just think that we do have a choice. We have control over how we respond to what happens to us. And that for me is the biggest source of power in my life. Knowing that I'm not just a rudderless ship being blown by the storms or whatever they go through, I actually can decide how I'm going to get through the different things and how I want the result to be. I always say to people, we as we sit here now are not the result of what has happened in our lives, as we often say. We're actually a result of what we've done with what has happened in our lives. And I think we've all met those people who have chosen the negative side of the same situation where someone else has chosen the positive. You know, a divorce as a child, growing up in a single-parent household, abuse maybe as a child. There are various things that if we can just encourage each other, if we can support each other, and if we can find the strength inside each one of us to rather choose to be bigger than what has happened, then we can start as a collective, I think, learning from, what has happened. Okay, rambling on here, but I was 27 at that time, in 94. So I already wasn't young, But I was completely oblivious of crime. And I have to tell you that is, although I'm not a person who says that I was responsible, so I know that I don't believe any victim is responsible for the crime that has happened to them, okay? But I do think that the fact that I was so unaware, the fact that I was so unprepared, the fact that I was so blasé about what was happening around me, I think that I had a certain responsibility for having been so careless. And I say that to you because we don't want to be living like in paranoia and thinking it's going to happen to us, but I do think we need to be realistic enough to know that we are living in a world now that not everyone is good. We can't pretend anymore that we can do the things that we did 30 years ago, or whatever. We have to start changing the way we behave. As wrong as it is, and as cross as it might make us, we have to start protecting ourselves and making sure we're not the victims. I think we should learn awareness. I think we should learn how to defend ourselves. How many here have ever learned how to defend yourself? Yay. Oh, I'm so glad to see a few. Because in the beginning when I would ask people, no one, eh? Because it's one of those things you think is a good idea, but you don't make a priority. It's like, okay, well, I know it's not going to happen to me. I hope it's never going to happen to me, so I'll do it next year when the course comes up or something. I believe it should be taught in schools. We should all know a way of defending. Not that we are training little ninja killers in school, but kind of just, for me, the defense courses that I have done, and I use that term broadly, self-defense courses, they've taught me how to be aware. They've taught me how to read a situation. They've taught me to trust my instincts. They've taught me to not walk down that alley because something inside me just says it's not right. And we as people go, oh, I'm sure it's going to be fine. No, you listen to yourself. So anyway, so I do think that should be taught in schools, if any of you are influential in that area. But here I was, 27, living in Port Elizabeth. PE was one of those safe cities that nothing ever happened to. I mean, I apologize in advance, but it was like this. We would come to Joburg and up here to Gauteng for work, and then we'd brace ourselves, because this was the crime. Crime happened in Joburg. And we'd brace ourselves, and as soon as you got on the plane to go home, you'd relax again, because nothing ever happened in PE. And I mean that with all the love in my heart, because, enough happened there, but crime was not a big thing. So I had parked my car outside my house that night, oblivious. I probably would have seen him if I'd been aware. I might have driven on, I don't know. He wasn't looking for me, apparently. They were out that night, the two guys, looking for a girl to rape and kill. They'd planned what they were going to do. So I don't even know where he came from. I was distracted. I was getting some things from the passenger seat when suddenly my car door opened. And I turned around, there was a man saying there was a knife in his hand. He put the knife at my throat and he just said to me, move over or I'll kill you. I mean, this is the kind of thing that happens in movies, And in a movie, I'm usually the one who goes, okay, just tell me when this part's over, because I can't deal with this kind of stuff. And I want you to hold that in your head as you hear me and see what I'm going to tell you. I survived. I am not someone who should have survived this. I don't like blood. I pass out at the sight of blood. My children know, if they're injured, don't go to mom. It's useless. So this very thing that happened to me that I survived, I should not have survived it. None of us know what we're capable of until we have no choice but. And then we can amuse ourselves and, everyone with what we can do. And I'm sure just you guys sitting in this room can attest to that in the industries that you work in and the NGOs and the sport and everything, where you can see where someone is given that ability to believe in themselves, what they suddenly are able to achieve. So, okay, so I didn't really react at first. They say that there's three main ways that someone would react in a moment of adrenaline pumping crisis. It would be fight, which I have a lot of people saying to me, oh, yeah, I would have fought them. I would have boxed him in the balls and I would have pushed him out the way. And I don't know, maybe some people did it, if that's a natural. I didn't even think of it. The other one is flight. So it's fight, flight, or freeze. I froze. Okay, I didn't even react. I'd moved to the passenger seat. He was in the car and driving it before I sort of started processing the situation that I was in. And one of the questions I'm often asked by people is, why didn't you just jump out the car? Because, of course, now we all know how bad it was. We would have all jumped out of a moving car, wouldn't we? But I was scared to jump out of a moving car at the time because maybe I was hurt myself. And that's, again, just a little lesson for you is that not all people are good. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I'm quiet and nice and don't make him angry, he won't have a reason to hurt me. He didn't need a reason. He wasn't the normal person that I normally work with in society, you know. So there are those people that we need to not trust, and we need to jump out of cars. And as the police say, do everything in your power to not go to where they are taking you to, whether it's around a corner, into a car, out to the bush. Don't go there, because they take you there because it's in their favour. Anyway, that's not giving little nuggets of advice that I've learned as the way. So I sat there, we picked up this other guy, there were two of them in the car. They were discussing the TV that someone had stolen. I think they just wanted to keep me calm. But they had planned where they were going to go. They took the road out of PE to where sort of like, does anyone here know Port Elizabeth? Okay, do you know it's a coastal road. More or less where all the beaches are, and then it gets to where the University of PE is. The coastline takes a stretch into it's like a nature reserve. It's just a huge expanse of bush, really. There are no people, there are no street lights, there are no buildings. It's known as quite a dangerous area. But there are like these inlets into the bush and sort of, I don't want to call them picnic spots because they really are not nice, but it's got glass and ash and stuff, but they knew which one they were going to go to. They turned off and stopped in the bush. And by that time I knew something was going to happen, and I remember just saying, well, now what? And that's what one of them said to me, well, they've won 6. I think he was surprised I hadn't figured it out myself, and he said to me, are you going to fight? Now, I mean, this is the question, isn't it? I often get asked, about people, women especially, should I fight, should I not? Because there are some people who say you shouldn't, because you'll get yourself more injured. I don't think there's an answer, because unfortunately each situation would be different, and you'd have to make up your mind, if God forbid it's you who has to make up your mind in that situation. But I do think, like I said just now, that if we have learned some way of defending ourselves at school or in our communities or at your church hall or wherever it is, don't miss those opportunities, because what that will do is will give you at least a choice. It will at least give you a tool to use if you think it is the right thing to do. I can tell you now that if I had known then what I know now, I would not have got out to the bush with it. I would have got out of the car, done what I could have long before. When he said to me, are you going to fight? I had no clue how to. I mean, I didn't know. I had never learned self-defense at that point. In fact, I tell people these days I lock my car doors because I'm scared of what I will do to someone who gets into my car, not the other way around. It's not going to be pretty. Anyway, I just said to him, no, I'm not going to fight. I remember I put my hands on the ceiling of the car so I didn't have to touch them. And I tried to switch off while they both raped me. And I tried, and for a while afterwards, actually, I didn't really allow myself to remember the detail of the rape, because I almost wasn't there physically, so my mind was just busy with other stuff. I don't remember most of what I was thinking, but one thing I do remember, because it kept on coming back and repeating itself, and that was, Alison, don't worry, this is not you. They're not doing this to you. This is just your body. This is just your body. And it really made it quite clear to me. And to be fair, when I look back on my healing, I think that was when it started, to have been able to separate me, the essence of me and my soul and who I am, from my body. And as valuable as my body is, to know that all they could actually touch was my body was very powerful for me at the moment. Rape is a crime of power, hey? So that is why women are so often more often the victims, and now children. And it's a crime of cowards, but it's a crime where they choose victims who are easy to overpower. So I can't deny that they had power over me physically, but how amazing to have been reminded, because also I think, as I say, it was the core and the start of my healing for later. Never did they really have power over Alison. Never did they really have power over me. And I share this with you because there are going to be moments in all your lives, in all our lives, where we're not in control, physically. And listen, I really hope it's not something so awful and violent, and it probably in the normal scheme of things won't be. It's going to be a traffic jam. I live in Georgia. I love using traffic jams as an example because we don't get them. But, not that frustration of being stuck in traffic and you're going to be late for a meeting or late for a flight or something. Or let's say it's a work environment and something that you're having to go through, and you have to stay there because you can't leave the job, but it's just a frustration that you have to physically find yourself there. Maybe it is something more traumatic. Maybe it's a health situation. Maybe you or a loved one has a illness that you have no control over. So physically, You're not in control of the situation. Please remind yourselves, if you can, in those moments, in that traffic jam, in the time when you're feeling, why me? Try and remind yourself that even though something else might control how you're having to be physically at the moment, they never control you. How you are going to respond to that illness, to that traffic jam, that's in your control. And that is where your power lies. Because if you, let's say, give in to the traffic jam, which some days we just have to, okay? But you might have a bad day and fight with people, and people will fight with you, and you're going to lose a client or whatever the thing is. And at the end of the day, you can say, well, it's all the traffic jam's fault. It's not. It's how you responded to the traffic jam's fault. And that is in your control. So it did really help me know that I was in control of me still. But obviously it was a scary situation to find myself in. Being raped afterwards, they did not warn me in any way that they were going to hurt me. They were talking about leaving me out there in the bush, so it came without any warning. Franz just rolled over me from his position next to me. He sat over me, his hands went to my throat, and he started to squeeze. And when I realized it was all just like happened in a split second that he was strangling me, I remember just saying to him, please don't kill me. And I'll never forget, just as I passed out, he just said, sorry. Yeah. So I was unconscious then, and I smiled out because actually that was one of the miracles that happened. And I was sharing with you earlier on that, there were so many miracles that happened that night. That again, when we are prepared to tell our stories, when we're prepared to look at our stories and share them with other people, perhaps with the intention of helping other people or of just unburdening ourselves, that's when we find all the reasons. That's when we find where we can see maybe this is, what I can learn from it. If we choose to not talk about what happened to us because maybe it's too traumatic, it's too difficult to talk about, what happens is we also get to not notice the good stuff. And so I find the fact that, although I was very nervous in the beginning and I didn't really want to, the fact that I've been asked by people right from the start to share my story, and I know in the beginning it was just because of the horror and the incredibleness of the story. The fact that I've been asked to share it has been my biggest form of healing. And so I thank you today because you're part of my healing too. At every time I share it, it becomes a lighter load for me to bear. So again, just a word of encouragement to share your stories. You'll find maybe some things in there that you hadn't expected to find, and I certainly did. So I'm going to now, because I have had the time to do it, as I share with you, I'm going to tell you some of the miracles. So the fact that I was unconscious, I now know is a miracle, because I would have been awake. If I'd been awake, I would have fought them and used all the energy that I probably had later to survive. I would have used it in fighting them. I also have no memory, of most of the injuries. They actually confess. How I know what happened is they confessed to it all later in court. Apparently they dragged me from the car and they talked to each other. I think Tiens, the younger one, asked Franz, is she dead? And he said, well, let's see. And he started to stab me then in the lower abdominal region. Quite strangely, concentrated on his wounds, like below my belly button. In quite a small area, actually, probably in an area so big. And that he was actually asked in court later, why did you concentrate all your wounds there? And he said, I was trying to ruin her female organs. Why he was doing that, I don't know, but obviously not well mentally. But while he was doing this, it must have just been a reflex that apparently my leg kind of gave a twitch. I was unconscious still, though. But Tiens, the younger one, was watching, saw that. He realized she's still alive. He took out his knife and things got a bit crazy because he cut my throat. And Franz said in his own words, he said, I was stabbing her in the abdomen, but he said, I went berserk when I saw the blood at her neck. I pushed my friend out the way. I went on with my frenzy at her neck. Some reason he counted. And in court he testified to having cut my throat 16 times. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love movies, okay? And I just, always for me, the throat is one of the most vulnerable places on the human body. And usually one cut is how you end someone's life, 16. I was not meant to die that night. There were many miracles that saved my life. In fact, in my book, I've got a whole chapter counting miracles. One of the biggest ones that happened that the doctors found. I mean, didn't you love it in the video with the doctor? Because he didn't want to, He wanted to have some other... He wanted to have some medical reason, but it's a miracle. But one of the things that the doctors actually said happened while I was having my throat cut. For me, it was the worst thing that happened. I woke up while he was cutting my throat. Half unconscious though, I wasn't seeing clearly, I couldn't tell who it was, I felt no pain whatsoever that night, another miracle. So I couldn't see clearly, I couldn't feel anything, I thought I must be dreaming, I must have woken up in that few seconds and remembered. I remember thinking, I was raped, he strangled me, this is really happening. And in that realization, an instinct took over, I just stopped breathing. I lay as still as I could in the hope that they'd believe they'd already killed me. And that worked. They left me. They went over to my car. After throwing all my belongings out, they drove off. Now, I just want to go back a little bit to tell you why the doctor said it was a miracle. So in your throat, you've got cartilage rings. If you run your fingers down your throat, you can feel them. They're little bumps. They're like half rings. And they're now one on top of the other like this, holding our windpipes open. But being cartilage, they're flexible. So when he strangled me, they were pinched on my windpipe. I think you've heard the term that you crush someone's windpipe. So that's essentially what they had done. And I was actually, what people don't realize, I was more likely that night to die of loss of oxygen. Because it was, I think it's 3 minutes you can remain without breathing. That was going to happen long before the injuries, before I bled to death. But the miracle that happened is that he cut my throat 16 times. And unintentionally, in doing that, he cut my airway, he opened up my airway, I got the air I needed, that is why I woke up, that is when I woke up, and I then actually had a chance to survive. And I know it's extreme. I know it's an extreme, what did I do? I went and messed up myself. Am I on? I know it's an extreme example. But is it not an example that sometimes the things that on the surface we think are the worst are actually the answer to the prayer that we prayed, And so many times I think we in our humanness are not brave enough to request as an answer to our prayer another hardship. We wouldn't, would we? We want it all sorted. But in his wisdom, I think God sometimes sends another problem. And if we look back on our lives, that is exactly what we sometimes have. So I suppose my encouragement to you here is be open to see all the miracles, not just the ones that you recognize as positive. Sometimes the miracles are the negative stuff. Sometimes they are necessary to be happening so that we can get, I think all of you sitting in this room could probably tell us a story about a time in your life where you thought it was the worst thing. You broke up with a boyfriend and you thought this is the end. You lost a job, it was the end. But now you can say, well, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be who I am today. So yes, again, as I say, the sharing with people has been my biggest blessing because I've been able to look at all those things that were so awful that night, but actually were part of God's plan. So yes, I was alive, but to be fair, when they drove off, I knew I was about to die. I actually took my finger and I wrote their names into the sand next to me. I still can't believe how like calm I was and I was thinking of things like this. I wrote underneath, I love Mom. I wanted them to pay for what they'd done and I want her to know that I thought of her. And then I squared it all off in the sand. I don't know why. I think I'm a little bit OCD or something, like it neat. I don't know. Anyway, but I made it all neat and I lay there and not wanting to die, I just knew I was going to, when a car drove past on the road. Now, I don't think they know they're part of what saved my life because they didn't see me. So I don't know who those people were. But the car going past was just my miracle of hope. Because I suddenly thought, on this road where no cars come, they came past, maybe another one will. Let me at least try and get out of the bush to the road so that they might find me. And that was when I decided to try and crawl. I pushed myself up to my hands and knees and discovered the injury to my abdomen. I hadn't known about it. It had happened when I was unconscious. I had no pain. It was beyond gross, but again, I think once I decided to survive, I did things that none of us think that we're capable of, So I didn't think, oh, blood. I just grabbed a shirt, bundled everything, because everything started coming out. So I started grabbing a shirt, held it to my tummy with one hand, crawled with the other, not very far. I think I was panicking and, I don't know, shock and stuff, maybe only a meter or two before I collapsed. And I remember at that moment just wanting it to be over. I just remember at that moment wanting to die. And I've always found that hard to admit to myself because I've always been brought up with a very strong sense of my own self-worth and self-value. And I am unique. I know that. The fingerprints that you talked about, I know that I'm unique. My mother has brought me up. In fact, it was her biggest sort of wish that as a single mom she would bring my brother and I up knowing that we were unique and valuable. She did it in different ways. You know, when I was little, before I went off to school, she'd go down in front of me and hold me by my shoulders and say, "Alison, you're special." And she never meant I was special better than other people. I never took it that way either. Just that I'm special Alison. You know, I'm special different from other people. I've taken it with me throughout my life. I've had different things at school that I achieved and certainly other things that I did not achieve. Sport, let's mention it, was not one of them. I can tell you. I found a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually, when I was moving my mom's house, I found with great embarrassment that she had actually framed a certificate that I got for a gala, my first gala, so swimming, But I was in the Lilo race. Now, that's for the people who can't swim. And I came third in the Lilo race, which probably were only 3 children in the race anyway, so I came third paddling along the pool. But she framed it. That, for me, was the horror. It was probably the only thing I ever got for sport. I remember later on, now you've mentioned a few sports early on when you were introducing yourselves. Anyone here involved in hockey? Oh, okay. Embarrassing moments. I'm going to tell you about my hockey experiences. I played hockey in high school for one reason and one reason only. I liked the outfit. I loved the short skirt and the long socks, that whole ensemble. And then in those days, they've got very fancy these days with footwear, but in those days it was a solid thing of plastic with studs that made a lekker noise when you walked on the concrete, which I did a lot of. Walking on the concrete, I think the coach would look over me and go, "Oh, you know, she's come to practice again. What am I going to do with it?" Because they didn't have a place for me. So I got, it was very sweet. I was head girl of the school, so it was like, I wasn't like a nobody, but at the same time, sport was just not my thing. So the coach obviously wanted to give me a role in the team. So I was reserve, always reserve, a field reserve. And when we would go play matches anywhere, I was the one who was responsible for taking the oranges on at halftime. Do you remember those orange segments? I don't know if they don't do it anymore. It was so cool. I can show how old I am now. But we always had like a little orange segment that you pass around to each player during halftime. That was my job. I don't know how my mother did support me, but I felt supported through it all. She was either oranges, go Alison. I don't know what she was doing on the sidelines. But somehow, even though I was not achieving what I could have done, I got that support from my mom. I got that knowing that I was doing it Alison's unique, special way, and therefore I was valuable. And so I find it hard to think I would ever have given up on Alison. As hard as it was that night, but if there ever was a moment, it was then. And I'm just so grateful that I didn't. There was a moment, I think, when I even did die, perhaps, and made a choice to come back. There's a whole nother story in that. But what I'm saying, what I want to say to you is, this is for me one of the things that we are in control of, is our attitude of ourselves. And you might say, "Oh, you know, I didn't have that kind of mother. I had a mother or parent who told me I was worthless." Maybe you had absent parents. Maybe you had a parent who pushed you too far for what you could achieve and you never felt that you were making it. Maybe it wasn't a parent. Maybe you've been through an abusive relationship where your value has been stripped from you, because that's the first thing that an abuser will do. I'm sorry if that is your story, but I'm still not going to let you off the hook, because you are still in control of your attitude of yourself, despite what your parents were like. No matter who has come in and out, and hopefully out of your life, you are in control of your attitude, and you are valuable. It's a fact. Of the billions of people who live on this planet right now, you're the only one who's exactly like you. You will never be repeated, nor are you a repeat of anyone. And so that adds up to zillions, because you must add in all the people who have ever lived on this planet and who are ever going to live on this planet. You're still one of a kind. It's incredible, eh? It's really incredible. So remind yourself of that. Put Post-its on your mirror or on your steering wheel or something to nurture this value of yourself. Because why I'm saying it so passionately is because you don't know when you're going to face your dark bush. You don't know what form it's going to take. I don't even know if I'm going to have another one. Please no, please no, please no. I mean, there's no place that we go to and we can say, listen, this and this and this have happened. Can I please just have it easy for the rest of my life? We don't get that. So things happen to us and we know they're going to happen. So do what you can to prepare yourself. And by nurturing this attitude of value of yourself, knowing that you are worthy, perhaps you too will stand there and say, I'm worth fighting for, because that's why I lived that night. I've played that night over and over in my mind, and I've thought of all the what-if questions, and what if this had happened, or what if that, and I've had to ask myself, what if you had not had that mom? What if you had not valued yourself? I know I would have died. I know, because it was the easier and it's what I wanted to do. So I would love for you to have that same love of yourselves and attitude of yourselves that you want to fight for yourself. So that's the aim of my ABC that I believe we control. I have an ABC. We control our attitudes. All our attitudes, fundamental of yourself. The B is belief. And this came into the next thing, because now after resting for a bit, I don't even know what time I started. I know we're late. Can I go for...
If you've got some time, yeah.
Okay. 5 minutes. Okay, come and sort of physically take me off here when I have to... I managed to stand up because crawling was too awkward, okay? And this is a horrible part of the story, sorry. I should have warned you right in the beginning, actually. It's not for sensitive listeners. With the neck injury, they had cut through my windpipe, as I said, so from the front here and round to quite far back on the right side, exactly where your jugular vein runs, I must tell you. But it missed it by like less than millimeters. But they had cut this muscle. And when I stood up without that muscle, I had no control over my head. And my head flopped right back onto my back. I know. But again, I wasn't really thinking. It was only the next day that I thought, when I was telling my friends, I just did what I had to do. I put my hand to the back of my head. I held my head on, intestines and everything eaten, and I started stumbling my way out of this bush. I have no idea how long it took me. What I do remember primarily is that 99% or more of me knew I wasn't going to make it. And it was scary. Yeah? It was scary to know that. There was that one little stubborn percent that just said, just get up one more time. Just get one more step. And it was enough. That 1% was enough to make miracles happen. I made it. And isn't that a lesson for all of us? That we mustn't give up on that 1%. That we don't have to be convinced that we can win the trophy or be the best ever or whatever. Just do it to the best of your ability and do it. Try it. Believe in yourself enough to try. And you might just amaze yourself at what you find yourself able to do. So that's the B of my ABC, which I believe we control also. Challenge yourselves. Don't wait for life to challenge you. I feel blessed that life has challenged me to this degree that I have been able to see what I'm capable of. You might not be so lucky. And I say that with all respect, but you might have an easier time and you might allow yourself to get by on not pushing yourself as hard as you're capable of. So believe in yourself, challenge yourself, do things. I've always said that when I was younger, I used to feel kind of like scared to try different things that I wasn't sure if I'd do enough because of what people might say if I didn't make it. I mean, I'm talking about, I don't know, I always wanted to paint, okay? I'm quite arty, but definitely not painting. And so I always thought, I so believe that I'm not won't be good, that I probably wouldn't be good. So what would people say? Do you know what I've realized as I've got older? And I'm sharing this with the people who are here, are still young enough to think that people actually care about what you're doing. We don't. As I've got older, I've realized that I am not as fascinating to other people as I once thought I was, People are not watching my every move to see if I win or fail or, In fact, even my best friends are living their own lives. I would have to go to them with my painting to say, look, what do you think? I've got any kind of judgment. So don't allow the judgment of others to stop you from believing in yourself. You are in control of the belief in yourself, no one else. It's wonderful if you have other people around you saying, go for it. But don't let that be the only reason that you do it, because what if on the days when you don't? Do it for you, because you are in control of that belief. The C of my MC, I've got to finish off with C, is choice. And yes, I made it to the road. Yes, Tion, isn't he lovely, found me. Some of the articles said he was a medical student, and that's why he was able to, help me. He's not actually true, he was a veterinary student at the time. But he did know how to stop blood loss. He knew how to keep me awake. He went on, by the way, to do medicine, hey? Because the whole thing changed his perspective in life too. So that's another thing. When you are out there, and I think many of you in this room are those people who are out there making a difference in other people's lives, in the very work that you do, isn't it true that you are the one often who's blessed? Or isn't it true that when you allow yourself to be the miracle in someone else's life, your life gets changed or empowered or whatever? And so I think that's a wonderful place to to sit in and be in your life, because he certainly had his life changed in saving me. The doctor, again, there were many miracles that saved me. But yes, after the trial, they were caught and sent to jail. But that's when I went into depression. That's when I started thinking, well, what now? Well, how do I process this, which I just couldn't. I couldn't go back to living how I was before, but I didn't know what to do with it. And that was before the talks came and some purpose came. And the depression was a very difficult time for me to be in because it wasn't my natural state. I was questioning all sorts of things. I was hating them for what they had done. I was waiting for them to say they were sorry, which they never have. So I would still be waiting. If I hadn't had therapy, yes, and that moment of realization, I remember it was probably 3 months into this depression, when I was by myself at home, and I remember sitting down and saying to myself, why did you fight so hard to live? You know, on that night when you had a choice between life and death, you chose to live. This is not it. This is not a valuable life that you're living now. You're not valuing every moment by living it like this. And it was hard, because I felt I had every right to feel sorry for myself and every right to feel depressed and whatever. But in the end of the day, I can say that I'm happy again because I wanted to be. Not because everything went right, or because it was easy, or because even since then everything's gone right. Happiness is a choice that we can make for ourselves, despite all the other stuff that happens. So for me, choice is about choosing what you carry. You don't get much of a choice of it being a burden. We don't get to choose our problems. Problems come randomly, sometimes very unfairly to some people. But you do have a choice of how long you carry it for. And if you carry it for too long, you will have less and less chance of feeling happy and being able to have a enriched, empowered life. It's all goes in this rucksack, and we just need to do a spring clean sometime and take it out, because you're the one who carries it, not them. And so, yes, I can tell you that I've forgiven them for what they did, not because they said they were sorry, and not because I think they should be out of jail. Have you seen? They came out of jail. They were released a year ago. Not happy, anyway, in the mildest of terms. But anyway, but not because they said they were sorry or because anything like. I forgave them because I didn't want to be angry, because that's not what I wanted for my life. I hope, as I've shared with you, you can hear I'm kind of rushing to the end because I can go on forever and ever and ever. That my part of was just talking about overpowering. That's possible. It's not easy. It's something that doesn't happen once and it's over. It's a continual thing. But isn't that lovely that life is a continual, we never get to the place where we say, I've done it. That it's a continual choice that we are making, that we're in control of our attitude, remember our attitude of ourselves, our belief in ourselves, the choices we make, and just to know that we are not just the victims of what has happened. We control the things about how we respond to what it is that has happened. So I'm going to end off, because I think I'm still going to have a chance to do some questions or something. But I'm going to end off with one little story about this little boy walking through the forest, and he comes up on a butterfly. So he catches his eye because it's a beautiful butterfly, but it's struggling. All the sticky strands of its cocoon are stuck to its wings, and it's flapping its wings. And the little boy takes a closer look, and he sees the wings, when it comes out of a cocoon, they're all scrunched up tight and wet and stuck to the sticky strands. So he takes pity on it. And he takes this little pocket knife out that he's always got with him, and he cuts the last few strands. He walks on very happy that he's helped this beautiful creature. But unfortunately for that butterfly, it was not such a happy ending. Because when it comes out of its cocoon, it's the struggling to get rid of all those sticky strands that help it dry its wings.
Yeah.
It's the struggling with those strands that help its fluids flow from the body into the wings, strengthen the wings, and et cetera, et cetera. And amazingly, miraculously, naturally, as that nature is, when its wings are strong enough for it to fly, they will also be strong enough to break any last sticky strands holding it down. And it's, I think, a lovely story to remember. I mean, I love butterflies. And the beauty of a butterfly is that we can go through difficult times in life and come out better on the other end. That to me is the ultimate triumph. When people have tried to hurt you or people have tried to damage you, don't just come out the other end smiling. Come out triumphant. Come out better on the other end like a butterfly. But it's a lovely story also for me just to share with you in remembering when you have those times of your own where you think, why me? Because we all have them. We feel a little bit sorry for ourselves. We feel a little bit... Maybe it is you. Maybe it is you at that time with that problem because you're needing to learn something that's going to help you get stronger in your life. Thank you for letting me share with you.
Thank you so much, Alison. when I was going through the bios, before you sit down, because we're going to take some questions, I was going through the bios of our guest speakers today, and I remember texting Henrik Modise, and I said, I'm not sure if I can do this because I thought this is so painful. And the fact that you've lived it, you are reliving it, but you've come out, I'm listening, I'm laughing, or I'm lighthearted. I'm thinking, how is that even possible?
But do you understand now that it is possible?
Okay, I'm still because the question is, how do you choose yourself every day? That's the question.
Do you know what it is? And it's not every day. I mean, I've been through lately, I must be honest with you, because when they come out of prison, I again went into my depression. So it's not like I'm like this every day. I really have been fighting hard to not let them, take me again kind of thing. So not, but for me, every time you choose you, it's a memory for the future you to look back on when you're struggling in the future. So because I, at 27, survived, I'm able to look at her now, because I do. I look at the videos and go, it's not me anymore, it's her. And because she was strong, I can be strong today. So I think that we can, yes, it's wonderful to have other people as examples and inspiration. I love true stories where we can be inspired by other people. But don't forget to be inspired by yourself. Sure. You've already gone through stuff in your life that you can be proud of. You've already gone through stuff that shows that you're capable of and what character you have. And so maybe it's just a reminder. So I don't always get it right. And I think I've also, as I've got older, I've allowed myself to sometimes not be quite as strong as I always have to be, because we're human. And it's nice sometimes just to have a break and say, okay, not today. Not today. Today I just want to stay in bed kind of thing. But to know that you're going to have the strength the next day because you did in the past.
Can I open the floor? Yes, you may. Any questions from the floor? Yes. Can I give you a mic? Can I get out to this? Wow, what a story.
It is.
I was just sitting down and writing a couple of notes. Okay. Some of the takeaways, really, really powerful. My question is, at that age, you had literally a very strong mindset.
Ooh.
For you to be able to say, this is not me, it's my body.
Ooh.
And my question is, if you were to advise women in the room today, how do you just keep a positive and a very strong mindset? And how did you come to a point of valuing yourself? And I think you've spoken a lot about people going through traumas, and that in the very nature, when you go through manipulation, when you go through traumas, it takes away your self-worth.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And possibly I think it would be worth it if you say, how do you recover that? Because at times it could be circumstances that have literally made you question yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I've gone for another hour now. I'm just I'm not going to say that therapy was not a big part of my healing. I think it's important. I think it's important to, if you know someone who's struggling, who has been through a trauma. I didn't think I needed it at first. I thought I was going to be fine on my own. But to me, to speak to someone who knows about how trauma affects a person, it was nice to know that how I was handling it was normal. Was a normal response. So that was one thing that I could at least be reminded that how I was handling it was normal. And then obviously with the therapy, they encouraged me to look at these things. But underlying it all was my upbringing. And I know that my mom was the one who had me seeing myself as a valuable woman, as a valuable human being, and that's where I stemmed from. And as I said, I was 27 at the time, which I feel it was young, but it was old enough to have had some life experience. I'd lived overseas already for 4 or 5 years before that. I hadn't had any major traumas, but I had done a lot of self-introspection and making myself who I liked more. I actually did that actively, But I do think that it is in sharing our stories with others that we can gain insights, that we can see what's possible with other people, that we can get inspiration. So I can't remember what part of your question I wanted to answer. What was it? What else did you say? Sorry.
How do you work?
Yeah. The word I said to you, you might not have had that mother. So you might have to find it in other ways. You might have to read self-help books. You might have to find a TikTok channel that sort of suits you, that's going to give you inspiration every day. You might have to change friends. You might have to change who you mix with. You might have to, the work that you guys do in giving youngsters a place, because it's the youngsters. And if you're parents, that's what I wanted to say. We need to get the youth to love themselves before the stuff starts happening. No, okay, the things happen to you, so no. But it's just, for me, it should be part of what we teach children at school. The ability to control how they see themselves, and the value of themselves, and the attitude that they have, and the control and the power that they actually hold. It's not something that I prepared myself for, but it was there for me at that moment, that ability to be able to see that it wasn't me. And I think it's probably just from that kind of, And I think if we can be offering it in the work that you do, you probably are making a difference to the children that come across your paths. As you do, my son is training up to be a teacher. He loves that part of knowing that he's actually made a difference in a child's life, that maybe that child doesn't get that advice at home. I don't know if I answered everything.
I also have a question, but it's okay. Should I? Okay, there we go. Here we go. Let me have.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. What was Alison's purpose prior to the incident, and Alison's purpose now? And maybe just to say, for people sitting here who may not have had such a traumatic incident, how do they go about finding their purpose if they haven't found it yet?
Okay, I can tell you that Alison Botha, I think that's part of why I lived, because I wasn't doing it well. I didn't do horribly. I wasn't a horrible person, but I was working in insurance, not enjoying it, working long hours, not what I was supposed to be. What I was supposed to have done when I came back from overseas, which, as I said, I was overseas for 5 years, was to start writing a book. And because of circumstances, and because of having to have some money, and because of whatever, I ended up going back to the same man that I worked for before. He knew what I was capable of, so he asked me to do more than the mornings only that I started off at. And so when, at the time of my attack, I was not writing my book, I was not doing what I had told myself I really wanted to try and believe in myself to do, I'd sold myself out as far as I was concerned. And so I remember actually part of me that night even thought, I cannot die now because I haven't done it right. I haven't done this the right way. I must have another chance. They say that you must never, say what you wish for, because I've written a book and I always said I didn't have anything to write about. That was my reason. Anyway, but it's just a by the way. So Alison before was capable of it all, but I did not believe in myself. Listen, what I can tell you of my ABC, the attitude, the belief, and the choices, that's what I talk about with the tools that I was controlling. Attitude I had right, that I just, my mother had somehow got that right. I did love myself to the point that I felt embarrassed telling my friends how much I loved myself, because I thought they'd get it wrong. I didn't love myself like everything about me was perfect. I just loved me, I was just me. I was just me. The believing in myself I didn't do. And that was something I was the one who, even in church, I wouldn't pray out loud because I didn't feel I could, all those kind of things. I doubted myself that I was capable of doing all the things. And it was after that 1% helped me live that I thought in fact, it was when I was asked to do a talk for the first time. So I didn't know afterwards what I could do with this thing, but it was so massive. I knew something had to change. I couldn't go back to being an insurance broker and cop out and do it, but I didn't know what would fill the gap. And it was then that I was asked by a few people to come and share my story. For no money, for no purpose, just to come and share. And it was, in a way, I said yes because I was so grateful for the support that the community had given us. I forgot that I have a terrible fear. I have fear of heights and a fear of public speaking. And in school, I was one of those kids who couldn't do it in front of the class. The class would have to go out for break time, and then I would just do it for the teacher. So I prepared my talk and what I wanted to say on the, oh yeah, everyone loves Alison now kind of thing, on that sort of buzz. But there was the night before I was thinking, what have you said yes to? you're going to freeze up in front of these business people. There's no ways you can do this. And I remember lying in bed trying to think of some illness that I was going to have the next day. That was going to be bad enough. I promise you, I was prepared to have laryngitis, talking like that. I was trying to practice what I was going to be bad enough. And as I lay there tossing and turning, I actually said to myself, what are you doing? It was 9 months ago you were fighting for your life, and 1% of you believed, and you made it. And so I was not harsh on myself, harsher than other people would have been, but I said to myself, there's nothing that you can't do if you don't believe in nothing of yourself. And listen, I still get scared, I still get nervous. Sometimes I even throw up. I mean, it's bad. I've got a proper phobia of speaking in front of people. But there's a lovely book, and the title of which I want to share with you now, because this is where it sums it up. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. But isn't that lekker? Because then you can be proud of yourself. Yeah? If you only do the things in your life that you know you can achieve, great and wonderful, we'll support you. But isn't it nice for your own self to do those things that you're not sure about? That you have to push yourself a little bit, that you have to believe in yourself a little bit, that So that's it. Yes.
All right. I think because we're running out of time,
yes,
Alison is going to be here. We'll be taking more questions. There will be an opportunity for us to engage and have these conversations. But her book is right here, I Have Life. Came out in 1998. Still good bestseller at the moment. International, translated into 5 languages. She's got a few copies that she can sign.
Yes, I can.
Yes. No problem. And how much?
$2.90. I've got a card for a card machine, but also I do have to get to the airport after lunch. So just know, catch me then.
Yeah,
I don't have to be here for the whole day.
2 hours.
Yeah, I'll still be here for now.
She's got about 2 hours. So, Alison, thank you so much. You're welcome. Give us a little bit of your life.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, and before you go stop down, I'd like to call over Hendrik Nadise and Maureen just to say thank you from SSCM, a token of appreciation from us. A little bit later, that will come. So I think what I like about, I'm just taking one sentence really from Alison's story, journey, life is be open to see all miracles. That is so important when it all seems like it's cloudy and there's no way out of it. Be open to see all miracles. Let's get into our panel discussion. The first panel discussion, the theme for this meeting is mental health and safeguarding for women and girls. Should I get you guys? Sorry. It's okay. Yeah. All right. So while Alison is just like detailing the situation. Then. All right. So let's get the first panel. It is Robin Cohen, who is the COO of Waves for Change. She's also stepped out. Okay, all right. You guys are not working with the MC today at all. Add-on
relationship with law enforcement, with your specialized unit, with FCS, with DPCI, with crime intelligence in fighting human trafficking as a crime in South Africa. So we're quite on the forefront with we've got an operational team. Our case manager is ex-military special forces. So you can just imagine bringing his war skill to the party. So he's the guy who's kicking down the doors. His speciality is on urban warfare. So I just decided when we started Brave to Love, I need the skills, and we need the skill of war. So this guy's got a lot of experience of fighting war in Africa, in all the countries, but I don't want to touch on his first, because I do have 15 minutes for my intro. Okay, so his first story, how he joined the team, so he runs our justice side, he was in war in Sierra Leone. And those of you that know the history of Sierra Leone, the country, it's quite devastating, but he was he was part of the team that had to go sort out the conflict in Sierra Leone. He's been involved in Nigeria, where Boko Haram was taking those teenage, the schoolgirls and trafficking them for terrorism. So he's been involved with that, in bringing justice. So he's really a gifted person on our team, but he was in Sierra Leone, and they, as a team, they had to do there was a money transfer that had to take place, and him and his team, 7 people on the team, landed at the base and ready to do the transaction. And the next moment, he sees these 2 big containers. and he hears a sneeze in the one. And he lifts up his gun. I'm not allowed to swear on stage, eh? I really want to. Just be. And he says, open the container. And he couldn't. He was completely outnumbered. And with these babushkas standing there, they wouldn't have made it. And the next moment, he said again, open the container. And they opened the container. The guy was laughing, and it was full of girls. And the one girl stepped forward in a perfect South African accent, and she said, please help me. And that day, they couldn't help. Our South African team couldn't help because they were outnumbered. But he did come back, and that entire team split up, and they brought order back. And he said that day he will fight for those that are victims of trafficking, and he kept on one by one saving children that are trafficked in our country. So he's a true hero. So that's our justice side. We work with criminal analysts. We check out the patterns. We follow the syndicates. And currently we have one of the biggest cases in the High Court where 8 or more traffickers are arrested. And we have incredible witnesses. With one of our girls was part of the surfing healing, where she was trafficked down from Rosettenville to Cape Town. And it's incredible to see, to find the justice. And we will continue to fight for justice, because I'm not scared. And I will not be scared, because we are at war. Our country, where we are at the moment, we are at war. And we need to fight for those that are vulnerable. And then, so that's our justice side, which I'm obviously quite passionate about. You can hear it in my voice. And then we do an aftercare program where we've unfortunately lost our funding for our safe house through the political change. But we had a quite amazing home that we did second phase development for a longer program for education for survivors of sex trafficking specifically. Our girls are doing so well. They have integrated. We've got one, so that's why I'm going to speak to Lebo still. We've got one that really wants to study nursing. She's busy finishing her matric. So she's really doing well, and she truly survived much. So that's our aftercare. We focus on skills development. King Prize is one of our partners, helping with the skills development online program for survivors. And then lastly, we do prevention work. So our social worker is in the schools doing preventative work, educating young people how to stay safe. And then we're quite in the media. You'll see us on Carte Blanche. There's 2 episodes on, if you Google Bricks TV, human trafficking, you'll see some of our documentaries. And then lastly, I wrote a book called She Is Safe. So the book, Caitlin, is here. If you want to buy the book for $2.40, I can sign it for you today. It's case studies on South Africa. Women in South Africa that were trafficked. So this is so crucial for your organization to read. I give safeguard tips how to stay safe online. And that's So let me ask this. Clement, you can ask a question. Tell me, maybe ask Zabik, who knows 3 ways of human trafficking? 3 methods. There's not only one type of trafficking. So who knows 3 ways? You can mention me 3 ways of human trafficking. I've mentioned one, sex trafficking, so that's easy. Who knows? Okay, online. So you can tell me 3. Don't know.
So the sex trafficking, maybe being sold as a bride?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Types of...
Yeah, different types of trafficking. Does that help? Okay?
Types of trafficking.
But you can't answer because you can't win.
Oh.
I want to give out, but you look away.
Yeah.
You might be winning. Okay, yeah. Okay? So what is that? What type of trafficking is that? Do you know? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, slavery. Yeah, it's called modern day slavery, but there's different types. I can't give you the answer. No one's going to win the book.
Well, I mean, you got parents sold each other.
Yeah, that's child trafficking.
Mm.
Okay, you've got one, child trafficking. Yeah, but one person needs to get them through.
Oh.
Yeah. Are you Googling? Not everyone. Okay, you need to decide. You can tell them who can win the book.
Ma'am at the back.
Ma'am.
Last year, where those people followed in a truck.
Yeah, but what type of trafficking is that? That could be smuggling, going over to trafficking. Okay. You must give the book away because I don't know. Okay, organ trafficking, labor trafficking, That was we were touching on that. Child trafficking, trafficking into criminality, child begging on the streets. We realized sex trafficking. So different forms of labor. So there's, and you had it right. Adoption trafficking into adoption, marriage trafficking. Yeah, there's many. Okay.
Thank you. Are there policies in place to stop this? Because now we're seeing a lot of sex trafficking stories emerging on, and they're in the front pages now. We're more aware of them. The Jasmine Smith story that caught everybody by surprise. Are there policies in place to ensure that this doesn't happen? If it happens, how do we curb it? But also, someone is flying the plane that's carrying the containers. It's not by a Holy Spirit, honestly. So it's more than just the people here. There's people above that are benefiting from this.
So we're answering the question now.
There are the policies, other policies.
Yes. So South Africa's the law on human trafficking came, I think, around 2013. The law came in, and I think our first case was 2017. So it's quite a new act. Mm-hmm. But our act is good, and we are, and I don't think our challenges with the act, because there are policies and things. But what I'm answering the whole time are that firstly we come to identification, because only 1 out of 100 victims are identified, and who does the identification? Our teachers, our schools, our community workers, our so those that are in community, and then we need training for law enforcement to be able to say, is this smuggling? Is this trafficking? Is this, she is not just the mahosha, she is a victim of sex trafficking. I had a victim that ran into the police station. The police said, I won't help you because you're a mahosha. And the ambulance in the police station came to rescue her, because the pimp shot her through the leg. Oh, no. So our policies are there. We do need better detectives. So the police, we were close with police, so they are fantastic police, but there's no capacity and resources. Capacity and resources to fight the level of crime that we have in South Africa is crucial. But and then obviously we emphasized on the children. Our policies in children needs to be very, very critical. And the problem is not the policies are there, the law is there. It's actually the law enforcement that takes that process, investigating the cases, the rape cases. I'm not even answering on rape cases yet, because if we just go there, we're a rape capital of the world. How do we, because these criminals are not prosecuted. And we saw the amount of, because we started following up this case that is currently in the High Court, we started following up the syndicates and the whole network, which we managed to arrest so many traffickers in one group and in one mafia group, if we can say it like that. And the success of that, it was pushing back. It was pushing darkness back. And because of that, erased one trafficker, because he doesn't just traffic one woman. Wow. He's trafficking a line of women behind. So the moment you take him, the kingpin, out, there were a line of women that would not be trafficked because of that and are safe now. So it's crucial to fight crime in this and policies to protect.
Tell me, to the three panelists, what are some of the ways that can technology be used to provide some sort of mental health support? Because in order to find yourself as a worker, a sex worker, you don't just wake up and decide to be a worker. So what are some of the ways, the resources that can be used to help women and children before they take that next step in whatever they might find themselves on the other side, selling their bodies or whichever way, giving themselves to a man to say, I'd rather sell myself to this person, they give me money to do my hair, or whatever the case is.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's interesting with technology, because I think we have seen, obviously, the rise of technology has also come with accessibility. Like, we understand there is a lack of accessibility to mental health services at times. Therapy is expensive. Not all medical aids will cover, and that's only for a small percentage of the country. Our healthcare system is overburdened. And so we've seen that the technology sector kind of has stepped in, and they've offered different things, like there's apps people can use. There's mindfulness apps, Insight Timer. There's Panda, I think, is also another app where they've kind of created a space where they have mental health awareness conversations, but they also provide people with like safeguarding tips. I think the other side of that is, though, we do find a lot of people will use Google and they kind of self-diagnose. There's a lot of like diagnostic tools online. And so you self-diagnose, you diagnose someone else. And that's not something we want to see, right? So the idea that we do is we always encourage people, if you are concerned about your mental health, if you are struggling, it's the same thing like going to the doctor, right? Like if you have a cough for 3 weeks, you're not just going to keep walking around with that cough. You're going to go see your GP. And it's the same thing with your mental health. If you feel like you're struggling, you should seek help. So I do understand why there's been a rise in technology, because it has helped with accessibility. But I think you can't just be using an app and thinking that you are supporting your mental health, right? If you need the support, you need to also go and access the mental health services that are around.
Robin, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just to add that we partner with an organization called Grit. They have a free app that is for women who are experiencing gender-based violence. It's a free data app. It's something called Kwanele, and you can download it for free. And basically, it's assistance into the justice system, because it allows women and girls to keep evidence in a vault, which they can use even if they don't want to report their case now, even if they report it in 5 years' time. They also open doors to the justice system, allowing girls and women to get help from the right people at the right time. So we encourage all of our girls to download that app. You can record voice notes, videos without your perpetrator knowing, and that gets stored in a vault and has really helped with the justice process. And then I just wanted to add that technology is great, but as you say, it can't be alone. And one of the things we found so important is teaching children how to report and their rights. Because a lot of them don't know, that they've never been shared that. And to have a child-friendly child protection policy on the wall where it's very clear, what do I do if I need to talk to somebody? And that takes the technology out of it. But yeah, I think that's really important.
So we had BC, and then I know South Africa, we don't have enough social workers on the ground that are serving the schools, and I think that's something that the conversations higher up needs to start happening with social development, to see and the resources to getting those social workers, because a child is very important and a child is very vulnerable. So yes, we do, even us as an organization, when we look at adult trafficking, adult still has, it's not, doesn't make it right, but a child doesn't have a choice. A child gets into those areas and they don't have the understanding to get those services, to say, where do I go? Who do I speak? And they usually open up to someone that they do trust, which is familiar. So your schools and that is extremely important. So I think in society, our starting point to get to mental health support is with your schools, to get youth workers, to get, and to train, to educate your coaches on mental health, to really train the community on how to identify certain, as a mother myself, I have a son that is diagnosed with autism. To get your little boy at a place where he is devastated, where he tells you he doesn't want to live anymore, and we don't have a diagnosis. And unfortunately, even if we look at the entire Africa, we don't have mental resources to be able to get that diagnosis. Luckily, we ended up at a miracle doctor my child walked in and said, listen, let me tell you about your child. And I suddenly understood as a mother, which I don't have a child now that wants to commit suicide, but because of autism, it is an emotional disability. Autism, and I advocate for that because that child doesn't know how to handle himself in a social environment. They don't have the physical ability or the mental ability to regulate emotions. So this is why the surfing is so amazing, why these organizations, why sport is so powerful. My little son playing hockey and things with, getting, it's terrifying for him. He doesn't know how to handle that fight and that competition, but it's teaching him those skills, and it's quite amazing. So I don't, like you said earlier, I don't think the online platforms are always because I do think that the trust with a therapist and those, but I do think the answer is within schools, because the right of a child is firstly to education. our children, it's their right in South Africa to have education, and we need to empower the schools to start with that, just with mental health, and then sport, definitely.
Thanks. Just quickly, I think when it comes to our government strategies, and we've talked about it, right? We've got great policies. The problem is implementation. And so, if we think about mental health services, our government speaks a lot about deinstitutionalization. And the idea is then that our community mental health organizations would be more resourced. And then also, if you think about the pyramid Robin showed, self-care, informal community care, that would be more resource, but it's not, right? 5% of our health budget is still going to institutions, not the community. And so I think if we spread our resources better, invest in informal community care, programs like Waves for Change, our schools, in corporates, we need mental health support for workers. Like, we need to normalize mental health, because we all have mental health just like we have physical health. And we're encouraged to take care of our physical health, and we need to do the same for our mental health. And so I think in terms of creating accessible mental health services, we just need to normalize mental health so that it's included in every aspect of our lives, so that it's not like, oh, it's an institution, I can't go there, it's a hospital. But if we put it in these programs, after school programs, in school programs, in our corporate work, in our everyday, that's really how we then make it more accessible for people to also access. Because I think the other side of, increasing mental health services is people taking it up. Stigma is still a massive barrier when it comes to people actually seeking help. As much as women, we're seen as emotional beings, there is still a stigma attached for a parent who's a woman, who may be struggling. And it's like, no, you're supposed to be able to handle it all. You're supposed to be now working, being the main carer at home, being the parent, doing it all. And there's so much pressure that comes with that. And so then there's the stigma of like, oh, I have to do it all, I can't ask for help. So we also need to break down that stigma. And I think normalizing the conversation, creating better access to self-care and informal community care, that's really where we can make a big difference.
I also have a question for the panelists, because we're focusing so much on women and girls, that theme right now being mental health. And you've touched on, Michele, on we've got physical health. It's the norm you go to gym, you must work out. But now, where is the safe space for the kids to go to once they're done with the surfing? They go back to that home that is upside down, the dad is screaming, everybody's drinking, everybody's beating each other, there's abuse, there's this. What are we also doing as a society to ensure that mental health is taken just as seriously for the mom and the dad? Because there's no point in an 11-year-old constantly coming, and you see a little bit of change. They're happy when they're surfing, but then we go back home to that dysfunctional environment. So what are we doing? What can we propose that we do then to change the narrative that it's not only for the women or little girls or boys, but it's for everyone?
Yeah, so just to add, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but we're quite lucky in South Africa that 97% of our children are enrolled in schools. So we have access to those children. Yes. And that's why I believe that schools is the place to start. And then sport, of course, as our first leader said, sport has the power to change the world. And I do think that we have these groups of children that congregate every day to play football, to play netball, to ride their bicycles, to skateboard, whatever it might be. We've got a captive audience, and the sport takes the stigma out of it. The kids who are referred to our program suddenly become the cool kids. And it's not that they have to hide that they're going to the clinic to a therapist after school. So I think sport is really powerful, and if we can get all sports organizations to take the toxic competitive nature out of sport, yes, that's great on a Springbok level and all of that. But I really think kids need to be involved in stuff. They need to have that respite, and we've got the places to do it. We've got easy access to those children.
And it's usually a lot of these crimes take place when there's substance abuse, whether it's drug abuse. I think our communities are flux with warfare and drugs, and this is a large problem of our crime, and the children become victim. I mean, we're sitting with children that are selling drugs. Yeah. So I just came back from the United Nations with of drugs and crime, and one of the two topics that's globally being addressed currently is children being trafficked into criminality. Our children are becoming the criminals because they cannot be, arrested. So the traffickers are using them, and in our communities. And then also, and then they're looking at disabilities, children that are vulnerable with ADHD, those type of vulnerabilities that are causing them to become victim. But I think it's the parents are quite important, and we need to tell ourselves the following. It's good to do the community works, but if a child is abused, then law enforcement is there to protect them. So get a social worker, get a police officer, and whistleblow on those cases. If a child has marks on their body, we can't be proactive. We need to be active in reporting criminal cases against children. And we cannot be scared of these things here, but it's another, what will happen if the child, firstly, the child's safety, their body, we need to whistleblow on them. And that child cannot do that on their own. We need to then get the right resources. There's many organizations that do work with whistleblowing for children and keeping them safe.
Sure. Another question is, how do we continue to empower each other as women and girls to talk about, you said it's still a stigma still in some societies, and in the African or Black society, you tell a father that he's got mental health issues. You have been disrespectful, number one, and it's the same as saying, Wasawa, you crazy. I'm sure it's the Indians, it's similar, Africa is quite similar as well. You don't tell an elderly that, look, I think there's a mental health problem that we need to address. So how do we empower women and children in how to address those situations in their homes?
That's all right. As we're saying, stigma is a big issue. I think with our organization, and it's based on research. It's what Alison's been talking about. It's what Robin also touched on, storytelling. We really encourage sharing our stories because, as you said, if you go into different spaces, different communities, it can be seen as like an offensive a word to use against someone. But if you have a man coming out and saying, I've struggled with depression, this is because there was pressure that was put on me, to be a provider. I lost my job, 1, 2, 3 happened, but now I can share my stories. It's really important. Contact-based education, right? So a lot of the times, as I was saying, we all have mental health. And the reason we need to enhance protective factors to take care of our mental health is so that it doesn't lead to a mental health condition, right? Not everyone have a mental health condition, but there are ways that we can protect ourselves because there are people who live with mental health conditions and they're not able to, some people have it where they're not able to take care of themselves anymore. They live in residential facilities as well. And so the idea is that people who have gone through that and those struggles can then share their stories. And people who might not have an understanding of mental health, speaking to someone who does really changes their opinion. So contact-based education is good, but also storytelling. It's a big way that you can reduce stigma. And so by empowering people to share their stories, it allows someone else then to feel empowered. It helps you not feel alone. And you can recognize some symptoms. Maybe you haven't thought about your mental health. You're not actually thinking like, maybe I've gone through poor mental health, right? Because our mental health exists on this spectrum between good mental health and poor mental health. And wherever we are in our lives, we might be in the space of poor mental health, but we don't want to talk about it. So hearing someone else share their story will allow you to as well. And that's really what we look at when we're doing stigma and discrimination work. And so I know that the World Health Organization is actually releasing a paper on World Mental Health Day this year on the 10th of October. And it's focused on stigma and discrimination. And it's looking at how do we tackle it at a national level, as well as a community level as well. But I think it would be interesting to hear, Robin, with the schools you guys work with, are you encouraging that, mental health awareness certificates are being given?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question because I think it's completely valid and relevant. I think that all schools, all places where children, women, men meet, the people that coordinate that stuff should be trained in mental health. Mm-hmm. If you go into a business, if you go into a sports field, if you go into an office, there's always a first aid box.
Well,
there's plasters, there's gauze, there's things to clean the wound with. Where's the mental health first aid box?
Mm.
Every single one of us needs to be equipped with that box. And we also don't want to overburden coaches. So you have to have supervision for your coaches. The coaches are often the people that the children share the most with. So they also need, at Ways for Change, our coaches see a mental health specialist once a week.
Yeah.
because it also has triggers for themselves. It also allows them not to feel that they have to fix everything. They have a space to go. But I really think there needs to be a mental health first box in every space. First aid.
I just want to say a quick thing on that. I think psychology is actually incredible. And the more we learn about people and individuals, even in sport, psychology can be so powerful to help youth do better in sport. And I mean, obviously my experience is working with victims of human trafficking. We deal a lot with trauma. I mean, the diagnoses that I've seen, the vulnerabilities of borderline personality disorders, autism. But if you can teach a child how to regulate emotions, even on the sports field. I mean, we've got how to use their strength and their emotions to fight in a game. To be able to charge for success and have vision for their future. I mean, it's incredible tools, and we've just started in our education system. There's nothing on human trafficking. We've started now as an NGO going to the schools. Listen, let us just help you identify if there's signs, and now social workers and stuff. So I do think there's much more, but we can build forward. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think you must go speak to the minister.
Separate just outside. We'll have a photograph opportunity. Everybody in lunch will be served. The team will guide you just outside how we're going to do it. Thereafter, we've got our two panelists. Will be a short lunch. We've got our two panelists, that's Patricia and Simpiwe, that are ready to tackle the next theme. Melissa will also be standing by from Bayesa in case you want to get touched up on your face beat for the morning or afternoon as you go home. She'll be here still with the team, and we'll also be putting you into various groups of discussion just after now. So bear with us. Enjoy lunch. Will be served, and I'd just like to say thank you to our panelists. Please come through. This is from SSCN, to Robin, to Michelle, and to Anna, as well as to Alison. Thank you for sharing real parts of what you're going through, what you do in your society, the changes that you're making, and I'm pretty sure we will have plenty more conversations, especially during lunch. I'm so interested to find out how young is the youngest sex trafficked child, and when found, but where do they go? When we find them, do you take them back home?
Do you want to answer?
That's where the problem is, I should think. Do they go back home?
Our youngest victim was a 2-year-old baby that was held in a brothel and raped. And brothel. Then she was used for sex, 2 years old. So the children then are taken immediately to hospital. Because that child, I mean, you can just imagine what a child goes through, a little girl goes through when she's 2. That little girl actually, our case manager that rescued her, he stormed through the door, and managed to find her alone on the bed. So he followed her route, quite a bit, and later he lost contact without her knowing, and she's okay. She's okay. So there's stories of hope there, but we need to fight this thing. It's an evil thing.
I think we can all work together to ensure that some of these stories, we either kill kids, never get to hear of them again. But thank you so much. We're going to just have a little freshen with Bayesa.
What makes our cosmetics unique is that it includes skincare in our cosmetics. So it looks after your skin while using the cosmetics. Our cosmetics is also not modeled how we look. What we present is the natural look. So we enhance our features, covering up our features. Okay, so I'm going to take you through just a quick daily look to show you everyday application. So a lot of women say, I don't have time to make up, I'm always around, or I don't like makeup. So the first thing with women like that is, remember, you can just apply a tinted SPF and it's enough. It's enough for everyday wear. Put on your SPF and go in the sun and just have a little bit more one skin tone than having redness or any imperfections on the skin. With skincare, that's what. So we always apply skincare first before we apply our makeup. So skincare causes the base of our foundation before we apply our cosmetics. So without the foundation, it's like a canvas. Wow. So it is our canvas. So basically what we're doing is we're painting our canvas every day. So when we apply makeup, we want to enhance what we already have. And that's what our cosmetics does. It won't cover up, and it looks after the skin while we're wearing it. So I'm going to take you through a quick skin prep. What we do is we apply a serum or a moisturizer to pull moisture into the skin before applying your cosmetics, or you can go with the primer option. That's a very nice ringtone. So we're going with the vitamin C just to brighten up the skin, just give some hydration to the skin. A lot of people have asked me, how much tools do I need? How much brushes do I need? Or sponges? How much products do I need? You don't need much. These are your tools. You can use these tools. They're given to you. Make use of them. But if you'd like, you can add a brush or two. So what we do is we rub in a serum, just moisturize the skin before application, so we prep the skin in a good way. I haven't introduced you to my lovely model. So this is Bella, my beautiful model, my canvas for today. She's absolutely gorgeous. Thanks for being my model today, Bella. So we're applying the serum just to get hydration on the skin before applying our foundation. So there's several foundations on the market. So a lot of ladies walk in, what foundation suits me? What foundation should I wear? So there's many options. You've got a mattifying foundation that covers the face. And if you have a very oily skin, we're going to recommend a mattifying foundation. Then we've got perfect skin models, which is also great, which we'll rather recommend putting something lighter on and making your own skin shine through. So, like I said, we've got a variety of foundations, so it depends what's best for your skin. But today with Bella, I'm going to go with just a light foundation with a tinted moisturizer with SPF in. So those you can wear every day. You can apply it as a moisturizer as well. You don't have to use your sponge. You can just go in with the fingers. So I'm going to just apply it for Bella. And then we'll see the skin tone will just even out nicely. It's not masking her skin. It just gives a nice glow to the skin. Comfortable. Feel like a paparazzi yet. I'm very skillful while I'm busy, then I'll come.
From that and like a BBM, like cleaning makeup like that.
So, DD cream is a daily defense cream. So why it's called that is because it's got a high SPF level in, and it's also helping with fog, pollution, or anything in the air. So it's called a daily defense. It defenses against it. And then with our BB cream, which is this one, so we've got a BB cream as well, that has a hyaluronic acid in. So somebody that's out a lot in the sun, working outside, would rather recommend going for DD, and with the BB cream more for somebody in the older age that isn't exposed to the sun every day. You guys are welcome to ask questions while I'm busy. Our time limit, I don't want to keep you guys waiting, but there we are. I'm not going to apply too much to her face. We're just going to get her color correction right on her face.
Whether it going to a match?
Yes, you can. Perfect, because you've got your SPF included. Okay. Yeah, to play.
Because there's that stigma for women footballers, especially, to say we don't look pretty, we look scruffy and blah, 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 you know what I mean?
Otherwise, look the face. So that's what's great about this, because it looks like your own skin. It doesn't look like you're masking it. It doesn't look like a thick application on the skin. So it will naturally blend in with your skin.
The skin will still breathe while you sweat.
Perfect. All our products are breathable on the skin, so your skin will be breathing. So for a match, perfect. You can apply it. And then a lot of people they've got very oily skin. So they won't want to tend for too much of a DD cream. But if you do, a setting powder. A setting powder is your base. So once we do anything on our skin and we put the setting powder, it sets for the day. So setting powder for anybody with oily skin, highly recommend just to set that foundation in place. All right. So then I'm going over. I'm just going to do a quick eye look. With the eyes, you can also use your finger. They've got various different palettes. So I'm just going to go in with the Daily Vibe. So that eyeshadow, there is always the brush, several brushes, but you can use your fingers. So in the morning, I know a lot of times we're rushed, we just quickly want to apply something on the eye. You can just go in with the eyeshadow in that area where you can see the eye. So when you apply eyeshadow, you always look into the mirror, and then you open your eye and you can actually see the eyeshadow, and that's where you apply it. Okay, so I'm going to show you. So as you can see, you can open your eyes nice and wide so you can see her eye area which area of the eye we see, and we want to just target that area. Okay? So I'm going to go in with my finger. And I can just close your eye. So you can apply it with your finger, you can apply it with a brush. A brush is always more for blending. So if you are a makeup artist or something that enjoys doing makeup, you will probably have a stash of brushes. So we can utilize them. So what we do is always blend in well. If you are doing it with your finger, just make sure that you've blended in well with the finger in a tapping motion, okay? But if you have the tools or brushes, utilize them, because then that just helps you do a good blend into the eye. Okay, so another tip I can give you is apply eyeshadow before applying foundation, because everything that you do on the eye usually messes here and it falls, so they start clumping in the skin. So once we've done the eye, you can clean up the eye area underneath and then apply your foundation so that you don't start clogging up and covering up. Okay. And then you're going over to the mascara. Mascara, each one has their own preference to mascara. So all women have different preferences, from smaller brushes to bigger brushes, to waterproof to not waterproof. So we've got a variety of them. So I'm going in with the Eyegasm today. I think the word of the naming is a bit much. But, the reason for this mascara is because it helps with lash growth. So while you're wearing this, a lot of our ladies that wear false lashes, a lot of times the lash starts breaking after a while. Then you apply the Eyegasm and this just helps with the lash growth. It's a nice small brush, so it's easier to apply. And you can just close your eyes if you want, or you can look straight up for me. The nice sketch of the... I'm just going to show you one side of the face so that everybody can enjoy their lunch. And then while everyone's on lunch, I'll just paint her the other side the same as this side. Okay, then we've got the brows. When we define brows, we always want to create an arch to lift the brows. So a lot of times we tend to have straight eyebrows, but if we create an arch on the eyebrow, we lift the eye. So you will get that point on the eye where you want to lift. So you'll see if you create an arch, it opens up the eye. It's a very technical thing to specify exactly where to create the arch. So you're more than welcome to come and look afterwards as well. And when you create that arch in the eye, that's just going to give you that extra lift. The eye lift, we call it the eye lift, especially when you get saggy eyes or droopy eyes when we age. This starts hanging down, the skin starts hanging down, but when we lift it, it gives the illusion of an open eye. Alright, and then we've got the creamy range. So this is our new range. It consists of blushes, highlighters and bronzers. It's all in one, especially the blushes. So with the blush, you can use it on your cheeks, your eyes and your lips. So we usually just apply it on the cheek just to give that color. And then we can also apply it on the lip area. Sure. So the ladies like this in the handbag because they'll just apply it, cheeks, lips, eyes, done. I'm going to put some on our eye as well on the side so you can have a look how it looks. Are you okay? Sitting so still.
What can you put for if you have dark under your eye?
Concealer. Concealer is what we use to conceal dark areas or any redness or imperfections on the skin. So concealer, we've got one, it's called Run for Cover. So the wording basically states where it's for. So it's a real, concealer is a thicker consistency than a foundation. And that's why it covers those areas that you want color. You just tap. So when it comes to makeup, tapping is your best option when it comes to applying, because once you start rubbing, you're going to start rubbing your artwork in directions you don't want it. So even under the eye area, this is a delicate skin under the eye, so just use a tapping motion to apply a concealer. I'm going to apply concealer. You can have it. She doesn't have it. They gave me the perfect canvas today, didn't they? You can look up to the ceiling for me. And you can just tap it onto the bottom eye area.
And it's a dark
It's always shade lighter.
Oh, lighter.
Yes. Concealer, because we want to bring light to that area, because it's a dark area, we want to bring light to that area. Anyone else have any questions about the brand, about a makeup tip or a look you're interested in hearing about?
I want to ask the time between applying a serum and other things after that, because the label say that it had been skin after fasting. Then it has to wait 5 minutes or so before actually put my foundation or your powder or anything like that, almost too late. So it was their time thing in applying everything from the serum to your moisturizer. Then
Yes, there is a time frame. So when we apply a serum, it's in liquid form. So once, I always tell the ladies, if you're busy brushing teeth, first apply your serum, brush your teeth, let it go into the skin for 5 minutes. Some ladies say, I don't have 5 minutes. Then I say, okay, at least give it 2 minutes, just so the moisture can pull into the skin. So there isn't an exact time frame, but I would say at least 5 minutes, just for it to pull nice and tight into the skin. Otherwise, you're going to have a very oily consistency, and you're actually just rubbing that serum off when applying your cosmetics. So almost if you're applying pale cream, light cream serums, always just wait till it pulls into the skin. And then there's a difference between a serum and then we've got a cream formula. So you'll apply a serum, which is the liquid, so because that pulls into the skin, and then the creamy formula you'll apply after that, because that will still in the oil because it's a liquid. Okay? Happiness? Any other questions, ladies?
Before we also, yes, we've got to push it there. Oh, that's not a big thing. But have a problem in that my concealer will crease into my eyes and make it Indian. And I tried that ice harder on the how to set it, but I believe that I feel like harder my like it.
Okay, so we've got different powders. We've got a puff, it's called puff cloud. So it's a very light consistency powder. It's a very fine powder. So that doesn't go and lie in the wrinkles. It just slightly mattifies your T-zone area and under the eyes. And what you're talking about is more of a thicker consistency of a powder, which will be either our HD powder, which is more of a thicker powder that dries out the skin because it absorbs too much oil. So I would highly recommend rather going for a fine powder when you're setting, but definitely set, if it is going in your creases, definitely a light powder under the eyes is your best option.
Maybe to finish off, so we can see the before and after at least now. It
would be great.
But I also want to say thank you to Clicks, because they are also on board today with everything that's happening, especially when it comes to, I think, the setup, but it's Biosa Cosmetics as well as Clicks. But for now, let's go outside, enjoy some lunch, a photograph, please, a big group photograph, all smiles, happy faces, and then we can break for lunch. Hello, you. Let's get into our discussion for this afternoon. It's the second panel. It's the last panel for the day with the theme Gender Justice Through Policy Influence, Systems and Sector Transformation. So we did touch on policies a little bit earlier on, and the fact that the policies are there, but how they're implemented, whether they're implemented, why are they not implemented if they are there, and the impact that they have. So I'd like to call on Patricia Pime, the CEO of Panico, who ensures the successful implementation of Panico's Extended Producer Responsibility Scheme. So she'll give us a little breakdown into what that means, because it focuses on reducing plastic waste in the environment by investing in connection and recycling initiatives in the country. But Patricia was an attorney of the High Court before and served as the executive for legal, regulatory and sustainability at the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa. So welcome to the panel. In the hot seat, we'll be engaging with Patricia shortly. The next panelist is coach of the Under-17 Women's National Football Team, SABC Sport Football Analyst, former Bawena captain, and player Miss Imperial, joining us as the second panelist this afternoon.
We've heard a few of her thoughts and views earlier on, so looking forward to what she'll be giving us this afternoon. And the last panelist is the Director in Social Empowerment of Women in the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with a Disability in the Presidency. That's Ms. Nomsa Lebo. Welcome to the hot seat, ladies. But before we go any further, I think I'd like to just introduce something that Patricia has prepared for us this afternoon.
Wow. My name is Alison Botha, and I'm the director and the founder of Gloria Hill, the home of all women for girls. In South Africa, we have a problem of human trafficking. Internal children are being trafficked in rural areas into the cities to be used in brothels or to sell drugs. That is something I've been around for 24 years now, because children are young and vulnerable. And most of these children are orphaned. From outside, when we look at them, you think they're happy, they like where they are. Inside, they're pigeon because they're hungry, they don't know what to get the next meat, and there are people pushing them to do what they want them to do. In South Africa, we're hidden in gender-based violence. The problem is not getting better, it's getting worse.
I was talking about under the tree, 10 years and your years. Ham and anchor. This is about my commitment. I want to be here.
We're 2000 to today, that is documented. We have serviced more than 14,000 children. At the moment now, we are having 80 and they all go to school. It's a lot of skill work that is being done in this hall. Number one, I teach you how to take care of your body, how to take care of your clothes, how to take care of your bed, and how to take care of food. We don't throw away food here. I teach them how to bake, how to cook, how to take care of the kitchen. It's very important, number one, to learn. And also, I think it can go to values. I believe in education. I don't know how I express this. If we can educate all these children so that they understand that in life, you need the skill, which is education, which can take you places. You give her a chance to be a child, but you give her a chance to be a human being. That's why I let you take them to school. They excel. As I'm talking to you, I'm heading 90 different universities. Why do they get to that? It's because they're human beings out there. Let me tell you, that's spiritually, because work how you do. Hindsight is something very much exciting. In this house, you see, we dance. Number one, for them to have the confidence and also to see that there's no difference between them and the other people outside today. And also we are doing fundraising for the organization. Resources don't have is in general money expenses. We get support from good-hearted people. Organizations, you find that it's something once in a while that will not even keep you for a month. But we have to keep going. That's why I'm selling candles. And I've been selling candles since we started Home 4. We are selling honey, and it's raw, healthy honey. And so I also bake that cakes that we sell at the taxi ranks in the mornings every day to get money for petrol for the bus. The situation gets very tough sometimes. Also, anything that a person can help us with, for maintenance for the transport and maintenance for the home. Also, school uniforms. This is important because they don't have to look perfect. They have to look like every child. These children have got their journey in life. So to see them accomplishing gradually, getting better by day, it makes me so excited. And it keeps me wanting to do. I am kind Botha. Please subscribe to Making Change to make a difference.
Sure, that is absolutely incredible and touching.
I think let's get right into it, Ms. Pillay, and talk about why you wanted us to first see that and what it means to you as an organization and for us to see it.
Yeah, so I think, thank you, Evelyn, for this wonderful opportunity. And, taking time out of everyone's day to be here is so precious, because time is the most precious commodity we have these. And I think you did the introduction of all of our profiles, but we're so much more than that. And as I said before, you're here today, I'm a woman. I'm a daughter of a very strong mother. I'm a brave granddaughter. I am standing before you here and sitting before you here today as a mental health patient, and with medication for over 15 years, very stable, but every single day working on myself. I sit before you here today as a CEO. I've been many positions, a lawyer, facilitator, as you've heard, owner of my own consulting and travel company. But I also sit before you here today as a daughter of an alcoholic, an ex-convict, a GBV abuser, and also as a motivational speaker at the same time, and a winner of numerous awards. And I'm most proud of being a wife at 44 years old for the first time, and I'm able to tell fur babies, Lebo and Bella, who I was very like, I've traveled. So, there's so many hats, and one of the biggest hats I wear is being a part of the Home of Hope for Girls for the last 12 years. They are here in Johannesburg, and I'd love for anyone who wants to do a visit to speak to me afterwards. I'd love you to come and meet the girls. Obviously, we also do the clearances. You'll see that most of the girls here, their backs are to you. For security reasons, we still have security risks. We've had many pumps, etc., still try and come and invade the home, even though it's not visible, there's no branding, etc., for the security of the girls. But we still have people, so they're still at risk, because these girls are also witnesses in cases, their own cases. So every day it's a problem. So part of my passion, beyond all of these profiles and roles, is supporting this Home of Hope. These kids that you've seen, this was a concert that we held 2 weeks ago. I wish you all had been in our circle prior, that you could have supported the home. And it's happy days. I didn't mean to show you this video to make you sad. I meant to show you the hope that we have, because I've seen these girls grow up, and it's so wonderful to see them celebrate on that stage. It was such a joyous day for all of us as we saw them celebrate and sing and dance and also raise funds. But the reality is that we do not get support. And we've been through many hurdles. We made a joke earlier on about approaching the ministers. We've done that. Luckily, through the work that I've done in my lobbying and advocacy work through the years, I work with many ministers, even through the presidency, etc. And I have had to go to ministers and call in favors. And that's not the way it should be. We should all be able to get rights and access. And through the favors, we've managed to get access and help, but that shouldn't be the way. It should be the norm that we all get help. So I think for me is this ring has a lot of power. And we spoke about it earlier on in terms of how do we work together. That is the key for me, is how do we collaborate? It's not my problem, it's not your problem alone. It's all of our problems, and we'll need to partner together. So it's very important that we keep this conversation going, and I know it's not the intention to stop the conversation. So thank you, Ellen. And I think for me, we'll talk about, I probably will get another opportunity. But the lessons for me is, as Women's Month continues, and as we continue as women, is to continue the roles that we play. And remember that we are women, and we are strong women, and we need the support of men. And thank you to the men that are here. There are men that are doing amazing work. And I think that our chairperson is no chair. I don't see her here, but she mentioned that throughout the journeys that we play, even my own, there's been men that have mentored me, that have sponsored me, that I am thankful for. There are men that are doing amazing work. Shona, that's sitting at the back with Rati. They're doing amazing work at the Pinetons Hill Cricket Club. Rati is putting students, through men and women, into placements into many companies as well. They have the Better Man program. If you don't focus on men as well, how are they who don't have male father figures going to grow up into strong men? And so it's programs like that is where great work is being done that we need to support. I also was CEO of the Beer Association of South Africa, working with Heineken, SAB, and these companies. They have great programs through their beer brands that are strong advocates at the soccer, the football, etc. And both promote men to be more aware of GBV. They have a hotline number that you can call if you're in trouble. You can SMS as well if you need help and you can't speak on the phone. But they have sessions in taverns. We spoke a lot about substance abuse. Because where do you meet men? In taverns. Or give them a safe space so they can share. And men also go through a lot of emotional issues, but they are ashamed to share it. And this is where you get men in the taverns, self-dialogue. So we also can't leave anyone behind. Yes, we can't leave women behind, but it's a dialogue. So it's all of our problem, and we need to protect our girl child and our boy child. So besides the home, there's also some work that Mankana does. Unfortunately, we would have loved to have her here, but she was called to do some training in Ireland. So internationally, they recognize the work that we do here in South Africa, the good work. But it was mentioned before by the speakers to say that, yes, you take the kids out of this environment, then what happens with them? How do we pay for them to be in these safe houses? We need more of them. We can't pay even for social workers, for healthcare. Like every month, it's a problem. Where do we get food for the girls? But I want to be positive to say at least they're off the street. The police almost every week bring girls that are taken from brothels to the home. And we can't refuse. We say, bring them in. There's new girls. Every time I come from Cape Town, I pop in at the home, there's another new girl. You can't say no. So we make a plan, we see to them, we feed them, whether it's vegetables for a weekend. So you do that. But they're safe. That's what counts. But we need to do more. We have the best laws in the country. It's about the enforcement. It's about getting support from government. So I think let me start there. But I think we really need to work together better. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Patricia. Former player, captain, under-17 national football coach Simpiwe. Our theme, journalist justice through policy influence, systems and sports. Being your sector this afternoon, how does that resonate with you? Hello. How are you feeling? So, foul and a bit sleepy?
Yeah.
You are not being honest. They are not being honest. Feeling a bit sleepy? Who's feeling a bit sleepy? My guy. I can take you to war anytime. Then it means the rest of you are robots. Because the body goes through a lot of cycles. You fall asleep, you wake up, and then you are awake again. So I don't know what type of people are you, but yeah, my guy, you and me. Lebo introduced me. I would love to go deep at length. Probably when I get to your age, I'll be able to give that. And that is fulfilling for me. And thank you for inviting me, gentlemen, because you are introducing me to a world where a lot of sports people don't really like tapping into. Sports people just want to talk. Let's talk sport. Who's playing where, how, and that's it. The important issues and all of that, we don't want to discuss them because we feel like it's a lot of admin. And I'm here, I had to think, Simpiwe, now bring your university cap. Bring your everything that you've learned, everything that you think it wasn't important, now it has to come to the fore. So yeah, like Leo introduced me. I'm Simpiwe Shorty. Like you can see, I'm very taller than all of you. Born and bred from Alexandra Township, and best Kasi in the world, yet one of the most dangerous. And coming from there as a girl child, it's a hazard already. Coming from a township like that, because your uncle, your neighbor, and all of that. And you see, when you're from a township like Alex, it's not like your own yard. The next door neighbor can just snatch you as you walk out, snatch you into their home, and your family will look for you. They'll come out, help them look for you while you are in the next door room. That because in Alex, the houses that are there, your kitchen, your dining room, our bedroom, we are 4 families there. So some of the houses look like that. So
in one yard, there's hundreds of people in one yard, then the following yard and all of that. So I come from that and I embrace that. I love that I come from there. I couldn't have wished to come from any other neighborhood because that's what shaped me. If I take off my heels and walk down the street, you'll see the real Alex girl because it conditioned me to be able to survive. But how many girls are able to survive when they come from townships like that? And be able to speak eloquently like I am. I'd like to believe I'm speaking eloquently now. But I never went to a proper, polished school and all of that until I got to grade 12 where I met Granny at the High Performance Center. So a girl from the township, Alex and all of that, got an opportunity to be at the High Performance Center where it's lights, camera, action, Olympic people are there, gold medalist lifestyle and all of that. And I'm coming in there. It's either I run and tell my coach, I don't think I'll survive here. Or I come in and they say, Goeiemiddag. And I'm like, what? Because I come from a township where every other language is spoken except proper English and proper Afrikaans. But I learned very fast that I'll repeat what they say, Wuhandet, and I say Wuhandet as well, until I got to understand, and Granny will attest to it, that I was one of those children that were inquisitive. I wanted to learn, I wanted to know what is what. If she's asking somebody to write a song, I'm there, even though I don't know what to write. If she's asking for somebody to speak in front, I'm there. If she's asking for somebody to go to a referee's course, I'm there, because I knew where I came from. They didn't have all of that as at my display. And I needed to come out of this place 10 times better than what I am, because my family is counting on it. My family is looking at me already. They think I'm going to get a salary for being a 16-year-old moving to a high performance center. And I needed to quickly, very fast understand that, Simpiwe, you are either going to be like the environment or you're going to become the dirt that is in the environment. And I chose the other one. So that's just the background of me, where I come from. I have a sports science degree from the University of Pretoria. Recently graduated from the US Olympic Committee with a long-term athlete development specialist. So a group of us from all over the world. So I was the first coming from South Africa, SASCOC and SAFA, to say, come in, Simpiwe, and let's have football come in there, because it's normally your fencing, your individual sports, athletics and all of that. And I come in with so much life from South Africa, and I just want to show them who South Africa is. And USA said, hold up, hold it right there. Let's teach you a thing or two, you know? And getting into that space, I got to understand and see that all of us in our small little corners in Africa, wherever we are in the world, we have a role to play. Today, I don't come in with a CV that says I was an advocate for this, I've done this, I have my own, but I'm at the right place at the right time. Because like Dumi says, I need to get out of here and be the voice for women's football to say, while you were just looking at the sporting, there's a lot more that goes with it. And mental health is something that has been something that has just been sitting on my shoulder to say, I've seen players from the national team say, we don't want to play for Banyana anymore because I need to take care of my mental health. Yeah. And a lot of people are saying, they're afraid of the pressure. No. They retire with money in the bank. Then what do you think is making them leave the sport? Mental health. If you don't take care of you, that body will never carry you for the next 90 minutes, for the next 45 minutes, never mind for the next 4 or 5 years of playing. So I come from a background that is like that, where you are told you're not good enough, yet you wake up in the morning, train. I used to train 3 times a day because I constantly have been told you're too short, you're not good enough, Simpiwe. You're not like your Pusham Dises and all of that. And I said, Pusham Dise needs a cow like me that works hard to be brilliant. So that has always been my attitude. I've always known that you might think I don't fit in, but I will make this space fit into who I am. So being in this panel, I'm really encouraged and reminded that right now, I think we had a meeting with Modise and Mr. Ellen to say, Simpiwe, what do you think about coming to the symposium? And I said, I'm going through a lot right now with my career. As a woman in sport, you are as good as sitting on the bench. Once that team loses, you are nothing. A woman in sport, you are nothing. A male in sport, they lose. The next team wants to know, is he available for us to bring him? Now you have to deal with that. A woman in sport sits and says, my contract ends on the 31st. On the 28th of 2 months prior, you engage and they say, no, we'll let you know. A male coach, they ask you, when can we terminate your contract because we want to buy you out of your contract. But a woman has to think about all of that. Mental health goes into it. Got children that I must feed. I've got a family that I must take care of. And when you go out and you say, hey, do you have a job for me? They say, would you volunteer? My experience. This is the first symposium I've come to in Women's Month, and deliberately I've declined going to speak or going to attend events and all of that, because this year I asked myself and I said, am I only important on the month, the 8th month of the year? Mother's Day, sometimes okay. International Women's Day, it comes, we don't really celebrate it as much. But once it's Women's Month, you get all the interviews. Coach Kenwy, and I say, I have an interview same time, and that interview is with my kids. So I've been declining because my mental has said to me, simply sit back, ask yourself, what is important for you? Is it fame? Is that interview? What is it going to do for you? When are you important? And I agreed to come to this one because I said to myself, it's different to my normal symposiums that I go to. It's different to the normal invitations where you just people want to flex and say, I've got Simpure coming. Well, no. Everyone that I meet, I introduce myself. I'm Simpure because I never assume people know me. And that's how I've been raised. So I came here today because I said, you might meet someone that is going to build into you while you are there as a guest speaker. I'm not here to give you. I'm here to receive as well. Most of the time we come here, we sit and we are excited about giving. And thank you for giving, because the 5 of you are giving. I'm here to take, because there's a whole lot of girls out there that are waiting to hear what I'm going to say with what I've taken here. And with what I'm taking here, it makes me stronger. Sitting, eating lunch today, someone said, I'm going to give you 2 words, Simpure, for what you want to do. Do it. Dumsani said, do it. I told her what I want to do because I realized I'm in a space of working where if you are not innovative enough, you are not strong enough, you don't have network of people that you will tap into and say, can you help me? Then you are doomed. So I'm sitting here and I'm saying, that's why I was asking you, how many of you feel asleep? Because I really wanted your spirits to wake up and give to me. I needed you guys coming here today. Because when I leave this space, there's so much more of your energies that I need to manifest when I get out of this place. And yeah, so that's my CV. That's what I do when I get out and speak to people. I'm a motivational, self-acclaimed motivational speaker. I love dancing. If there was a song, I would have known. Yes, I'm a linga very quickly, thick and fast. And my superpower is that I can speak more than 5 South African languages. So I'm on TV Mondays and weekends where I speak football as a woman in sport. And I don't see myself as a woman coach, a woman in football. No, I see myself as a football understanding speaking person, because I'm done with boxing myself. And I'm a woman that is one of the best analysts in the country, maybe in the world. And I'm saying one of, I'm deliberately refraining from saying the only. I cannot be the only. I don't thrive on being the only, because there's other Simpures that must be 10 times more than me. That's what I live for. I'm a pioneer for making sure others become 10 times better than me in football, in just meeting each other. And lastly, Lebo, my outfit cut is probably 220 rands worth, but I said I needed to make it look 1,000s more, because I knew I was meeting people that took their time waking up to hear what Simpure has to say. And so because I'm receiving, I wanted to receive in my power suit.
Thank you.
Some of the girls are taken away from playing football and all of that because their parents say they will look like boys.
Yes.
Let me ask this, because the heels, you can't wear heels and walk.
Yeah. If I'm coming in and tell you, but Exhibit A. And if I'm coming in here, this is my wall. This is my daily wall. But we're thinking of ways you can find a football person, a sports person coming in and saying, I'm going to kick very like, well, really? It's impossible. Hard. Have you seen Sanina? How is that possible? And there's no way that Miss South Africa can be working in here and working like me. You ever heard of that? So parents say that my kids are going to be footballers and whatnot. And I say, I have this haircut because it suits my big head. I have this haircut because it's easy to do, that I'm not late for any kids that you drop off to play football. Now I have nails because I don't have to be playing and all of that. I have makeup on. I asked the lady, can I train in that makeup? Because these guys look at me and saying, Coach, you were saying when I still be feminine. And I say, yeah, be feminine in your masculinity of playing sports. I don't want to see pants there. Look penny. And some of them say, but coach, then they look like boys. And I say, my whole life I've been said I'm lesbian, I'm them. And when people see me married, and I say, there's still nothing wrong with being lesbian. Yes. The person's sexual orientation has nothing there. Just be created. Be a person. Love. Because when I die there, it's a skeleton. When you tell what type of skeleton it was, or no. So I try to teach as much as I can to say, there's no way a girl can play sport and be walking like Miss South Africa. It was impossible. Because the genetics of running, you can't be running like this. It makes you slower. You gotta have that pose, that gait and all of that. That's you playing there. And let them come and play. As long as you have a strong background of teaching for your children at home, nothing will sway them. Your principles and what you've given them, what you've taught them, when they come to sport, it will never change them. It will only influence and give them what's good. From home, balance with that. The bad is good also, because that bad helps them grow and makes them stronger. But it must not be outweighing the good. So I love who I am. You're going to see me at fair. I have a session. I'll be in my tracksuits and you'll be asking, is that the same coach that was there with earrings? I'm going to change these because I can't be moving. You transform. That's what I was asking you. You woke up, you were asleep, you wake. The body does that, and anybody can transform and be anything they want to be. I'm liberated.
All right. Thank you very much to Simphiwe. She's touched on stereotypes. She's touched on inequalities. And they also tie in with the theme this afternoon. And just to bring in Marcel in the topic, but now at a policy level that we sometimes not see in certain sectors, how can policy influence or be leveraged to promote gender justice as well as address systemic inequalities within different sectors that we find ourselves in?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to firstly introduce the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, because I think most of you, except for those who've worked directly with the department, don't know this department. So I think it is my responsibility to firstly just quickly introduce who we are. It's also saving me a bit because I don't want to introduce myself that much. I think I'm going through midlife crisis diagnosed by Google. So rather we're going to just introduce our department. So basically the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability is located here in Pretoria, and it does not have a provincial presence. We're focusing, as the name implies, on women from all diversity, youth and persons with disabilities. And our role basically is to monitor and ensure the coordination of mainstreaming of the needs of the vulnerable groups. You know, whether it be policy, whether it be programs that are implemented, the plans that are being implemented by the various departments. Our role is to ensure that mainstreaming of needs of youth, of women and persons with disability, you know, all those are mainstreamed in whatever the institutions are doing, whether it be government departments, whether it be civil society organizations, and whether it be in the private sector. That is our main role. We are not implementers, you know, but we are supposed to be answering on the progress that is being made by the country when it comes to things like fighting gender-based violence. We have to answer on that because we are supposed to be monitoring. We are supposed to be monitoring departments receiving reports from various institutions where they indicate where they are in terms of fighting gender-based violence, amongst other things, where they indicate what their challenges are, and where they indicate what interventions are needed in order to close those gaps. So this is just one of our functions. We are also responsible for ensuring that policies are developed, when it comes to employment of women, youth, fighting gender discrimination. We have to ensure that the various departments, they develop those policies. Yes, we may have policies that are housed in our department, like, for instance, the Ouija bill, but we also have to ensure that the policies that are developed by the various departments and various institutions mainstream the vulnerable groups. Because, our society is mainly patriarchal, and it's not only South Africa, throughout the whole world is, So it happens automatically that the policies and the plans and the frameworks that will be developed in all our institutions would favor patriarchy. So it needs a special eye for someone, for an institution to see that, to ensure that they have mainstreamed and considered the special needs of women, youth, and disabilities when they are developing those plans and when they are developing those plans and policies. So, but one thing I wanted to, I think I will finish there when it comes to debate. But if you need more information, I've prepared a presentation there. But I don't think I will. Do you want me to go through the presentation? Because I just wanted to kind of relate to because when I'm done in my presentation, I had listed the various policies, that have to do with women empowerment, that have to do with fighting gender discrimination and, ensuring gender equality. I had listed all of them. South Africa is a signatory to so many international instruments and frameworks. We have a commitment to make sure as a country that we ensure that in all our institutions, the whole of society, we ensure gender equality. There is no discrimination. So I've listed there, international instruments and frameworks, they are there. The CEDAW, the Beijing a platform, the Resolution 325, the regional, all these are the instruments that we are a signatory to. So whichever institutions you are dealing with as an individual, it has to align with those requirements of those instruments, because the country is a signatory to those, and it has made commitment to follow the regulations of those instruments. And yet we are a country where women are still being killed, as if we more than countries that are in war. You see. So these are the discrepancies. So that is why I had listed. I've heard colleagues here saying that, South Africa has got many policies. Can you go to the next slide, please? We have many policies, but the problem is implementation, and indeed it is. Because implementation needs you to have a plan on how you are going to implement the policy. A policy provides a guideline. So one of the things we are looking at as the department in the presidency is development of implementation plans for implementation of these policies, because it's no use that we have great policies starting with the constitution, but the problem is implementation, because firstly, the implementation plans that are there are not adequate to ensure implementation, to ensure accountability, because when we talk about implementation, we have to put in accountability for those people who are not implementing according to the plan. We have to look at implementation. We have to look at resources, financial resources, because it takes money to implement the various initiatives. Resources for the department, resources for civil society organization, even including the private sector. They need to make to ensure that funds are available for the various programs that they are implementing. So the issue of resourcing up to even a human capacity, that is also very important. One of the findings as the department, we looked at, in provinces up to even municipalities at the local level, there is supposed to be people called gender focal points. Those people are supposed to support a government in ensuring that there is gender mainstreaming in all the programs, that are being implemented, whether it be plans, to ensure that the needs, of women, youth, and persons with disabilities are addressed when it comes to those policies. But one of the things we've found out is that these gender focal points, they are supposed to be at a director level so that they can have influence. Director level is SMS, it's management level, where decisions are made. But we have found that in many areas, these gender focal points are placed at lower levels. They have no way of influencing policy. They have no way of influencing decisions in the various organizations, So these are the things that even our national gender machinery, because we've got a national gender machinery that is supposed to be addressing these things and addressing even the presidency, when it comes to ensuring that these things happen. Because, national departments are fine, but provinces are kind of independent. Do you understand? If they've got a structure, they can place that gender focal point at a much lower level, or they can fill in that position at a director level, but at the same time ensure that that gender focal point has got many other responsibilities so that they are not able to fully focus on what they're supposed to be doing. So these are the challenges that we are faced with, and one of our responsibilities is to ensure that we monitor departments when it comes to implementation of even their plans, because some of them have plans when it comes to issues around empowerment of women, gender equality, but it's implementation. Our role is to ensure that we monitor, but at the same time we point out these gaps, so that they can be dealt with even by the political leadership. Because another challenge that we are facing is the lack of political leadership when it comes to issues facing women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Political leadership is very important because these difficult decisions have to be made to ensure that we come up with programs and plans that are going to ensure that there is empowerment, there is fight against discrimination. So what I had also done here is to put in I'm going to ask the MC there to circulate the presentation, because here I also wanted to talk about the national strategic plan, but there is not enough time to talk about that. So when it comes to the issues around, so I've already touched on the issues around institutional arrangements, especially when it comes to transformation in our institution. That is very important because we have these policies, but if organizations are not prioritizing transformation, then that is the problem. Let me make an example. Most many organizations are supposed to have sexual harassment policies. Now, this is one of our findings. Many organizations have developed sexual harassment policies, but one of our findings is that when we looked at worked through their policies, some of these sexual harassment policies have been done and approved in about 2007. Tell me, how many amendments have been done in relation to sexual harassment? Those are supposed to be there, but that policy is old, and it does not cater for the changes that have been made. And another thing is, in some of these cases, you would find that the sexual harassment policy is there, but no one knows about it. So if you've been harassed in the workplace, you have no way of really, look at this policy and think that this is strange because you're seeing this for the first time. So that is why so many cases of sexual harassment in workplaces are not even reported, because the culture is not supportive of people to report, but also there is just no knowledge. We build these policies just for compliance. So it's very important that policies be developed, but also these have to be linked to the transformation of institutions. And again, this goes back to leadership buying into the policies that are developed, even in private institutions. It goes back to resourcing, because for any policy to be implemented, there needs to be resources. There needs to be money invested and people put in there so that they can be able to spend time monitoring and ensuring implementation. So I hope I've answered some of your questions. So we will make arrangements for this presentation to be emailed to everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So it does sound like, Namsa, that there is a lot that is there, but the problem is now, you saying, developing implementation or developing of implementation plan. So we have a plan, but we need to have a plan to execute the plan. And we also have lack of political leadership in order for them to execute the plan that's already been there, which is the policy. And when there's oversight of the policies that are there, that don't have the people to execute the plan that needs to be there. If you think about the Browns here, they say that it's always having policies, but it's just, as you said, it does feel like it's just for governance purposes. I think,
Tricia, but we as women also have huge internal work that needs to be done. We have a lot of shame as well. Shame of our past, shame that we need to overcome, and that our past doesn't define what has happened to us is not our fault necessarily, and that's where we don't necessarily stand up and fight and use these tools that are available, whether it's internally in companies, whatever may be available. So we can have these tools available, but a lot of it is also up to us. How far do we want to go? And there's a lot of work, like we're saying, whether it's mental health, whether it's just our own confidence. So many of us also suffer with imposter syndrome. We have, and men too, don't get me, it's surprising that many men as well have to work on imposter syndrome. We get to a point in life and we think, actually, I just got here by mistake. No, you didn't get there by mistake. You actually worked hard to get there. You deserve to be there. But then there's also the aspect of fear, because and it's more difficult, I'd say, like you were saying, simply for a black woman, because you think, if I complain, I will get fired, I'll get benched, and I'm going to be seen as the problem child, and you're going to be put up for a promotion or any kind of further appointment. So yes, there's simple things I'm looking at, but it's not a black and white matter. It's about what support is the system offering us, what protection is the system offering us. And so many of these things I personally went through. I was in a huge corporate in the early days. Lots of them were raising their hands saying, this is unfair, this is not fair. And I was taken to a nice coffee across the road, very big corporate, and I was told, well, you need to fit in, or maybe you need to leave. And I was like, well, then I'm leaving, And then through my age and maturity, I've learned you need to also learn to work the system. But unfortunately, we learned that later on. And why should we learn to work the system? The system should work for us, right? The system should be there to protect us. But unfortunately, it's not there. Like you said, it's a patriarchal system. Men will be allowed to stand up. Men are allowed to voice their opinions, and it's all fine and we go up for drinks. But the minute a woman raises it, she becomes an angry black woman, for example, often, right? And that's so unfair. So how do we do this, or how do we create safe environments for women where they're not ostracized or marginalized because they're raising their hands? Those policies, etc., should be live policies. It should be out there. Protection should be given, whether it's either in the workplace or it's more, harsh issues like gender-based violence in your homes, or human trafficking issues.
I wanted to add in on that as well. What also helps with making sure policies are implemented and they're seen through is when a woman is put in a place of decision making and all of that, most of the women don't celebrate anymore because there's oppression at the woman. There's another woman locking that door and closing that door for the rest of the women not to come up. But there's other women that are trying so hard to pull up other women, and we don't speak about those women a lot because we have a narrative that we want to push. And to those women that are bringing up the other women and the ones that are still tentative about doing it, imagine you get into that space and you look around in your company and all of that and say, can I form a forum of sound women that will come in and say, we are not going to be emotional about things. We're going to look at the black and white, no gray area. We're going to look at the black and white
how can we make it work for us? How do we fight smart? Because I always say this to the girls when they want to complain, coach, but we are not getting food on time and whatnot. And I say, maybe let's move our training time. Let's not complain about that. Things we can control and help, let's work and maximize with those. How do those women that are CEOs that are in those spaces and all of that to say, I can see there's other smart women that are there that are not at a place where they can sit in a boardroom and discuss policies, but they can influence how I'm thinking because they are on the ground. Use us as much as you can because we are the ones that go through it, that see it, but we need a voice up there that will carry our voices. And on our side, we also need to be emotionless when we get to that and be factual about things. Not see, oh, one time I tried to call you and you didn't answer. No. I sent an email. I went through necessary precautionary measures to say this is the procedure and all of that. And we must be consistent because also we can't throw the element of I'm a woman, I can change my mind. Change your mind to correct things. Change your mind to amplify and make things better. Because when we are consistent, the systems gets a hang of things. A gentleman here said, I'm going to give the makeup to my wife. Previously, he would never give his wife money to go buy makeup. But he's gotten accustomed to, oh, this is how she likes. This is the type of, might not be as much expensive makeup that I must buy for her, but let me start by buying makeup. So we run to saying, I want that expensive makeup. And however, true to what you were saying, that we shouldn't be forced to go for cheap makeup because at least, no, shouldn't be at least. But we must find strategies and ways. Unfortunately, women, it's in us. It's, you want something done, ask a woman. You want something said, ask a man. And if we can do both, why not? Smartly.
Yes, Ms. Lebo. And just to add, I think as women, we must not be harsh on ourselves. We are very hard because we are also the victims of patriarchy. When in fact, I want to add toxic patriarchy because toxic patriarchy tells you as a woman that you are not good enough. Okay. So that is why when you are in a meeting and you are asked, whom do you elect as a leader of this? You will say, that is so and so. Oh, so and so. No, she's so emotional. She's so this. You are also a victim of patriarchy. That is why in many cases you would find, this is not an excuse, many women, they kind of pull down the woman who is in leadership because if you've got a mentality that says women are not good enough, well, why would you be able then to support another woman whom you see as good enough? Or you have no capability of doing that. So, but what is needed, if you now understand that you are a victim of patriarchy, then this calls for introspection. Every time before you utter a criticism for another woman who's in leadership, think, step back. Would I be saying the same thing if this was a man? Or, so every time, because you understand that you are also a victim. We all live in one society. We are all victims of a thing called toxic patriarchy. So that's why we always need to take a step back because you are also a victim. So please do not be harsh on yourselves, but introspect more, like it has been suggested here. Thank you.
Right. I think we'll have to wrap it up with our panelists here. And in closing, I'd like to call on Alan Williams from SSCN just for him to round up what we've been talking about and give us a closure to a really wonderful conversation. Amen.
Well, we've come to the end of today. I want to thank you all for coming. First of all, it's been a remarkable few hours. As you know, when women speak, most of the guys, we just have to listen. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that there was so much in this room, and sometimes we just need to listen. The other thing is, we do realize that the task ahead of us is a mammoth task. And sometimes we can become very discouraged when we hear what is taking place in the communities, right? And I've been sitting there and I've been listening. I've been listening, Emma, to the stories, and I've been listening to the panelists. And I must say, I'm a very optimistic person. And but sometimes you can go down a rabbit hole when you think, oh my word, are we going to make this country and this world a better place? But I think that, and I want to encourage you here today, whether you're young or old, that you can make a difference. Your life counts. Dr. Levy, it's so good to have you here as well as a medical doctor. I know that some of these discussions is quite important to you as you take forward your work in the medical practitioner, but also in the One Nation identity that you are launching as well. I want to say that as we conclude, Lebo, is that, and what you said, is that I can say we came for a nice gathering and a nice lunch, but I want to challenge you that when you go back to your respective communities, let us get rid of the me, myself, and I attitude.
Yeah.
Let us get rid of the excuses. Excuses are the crutches of the uncommitted. And I'm not talking about joining the United Nations and changing the world. I'm talking about your neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your community. I'm talking about getting out of your comfort zone and being a help to somebody. If you've got a domestic and you're fortunate enough to have a domestic and she's got a daughter, I'm saying, or a son, how can you make a difference in that person's life? Therefore, working in a company and you have women in that company, and I know, Maureen, you're looking at me because you're one of the few women at the SEC and Secretariat. How do you bring transformation there? Or if you're in a school and with women we have our cliques in girls' schools or boys' schools, how do you become more inclusive and invite that girl that might be on the outside to improve her self-esteem? So these are the small things that we are dealing with. That is a huge systemic problem in this country. It's not about giving a young woman, a young girl or a woman a job, and she gets a job and you think that's where it stops. But she has to jump onto a taxi to get her home late at night, dropped off in another place where she has to walk another 5 kilometers to get home. Her at risk of being attacked. So that's why I'm saying we have a systemic problem in the country. It's not just one area we need to fix. The system is broken.
And yet,
the system is broken. So I want to say, and I want to challenge you at this Arise Women of Africa. You are powerful. You can be a world changer and a history maker. You can be part of those women that is it the Black Sash movement back in Delhi in Gohanso. It's a new struggle we're facing in the country, and I want to thank you for coming here today. I want to thank you for giving up your time. I trust that you will be inspired to go back into your communities, and like that starfish, where the guy saw the starfish out, and there was thousands of them laying on the shore, and the guy went past and he said, "But are you making a difference? Because there's so many." And he picked up one and he threw it in the ocean and he said, "I've just made a difference with this one." And so that's how it is. So I want to thank you for coming. Please travel back safe, whether you're going Johannesburg or Pretoria. And I want to encourage you, just stay in contact. You've got to have the numbers. With your permission, we can share your emails. We can share the presentation from the department as well. And you network yourselves. You network and you share experiences yourselves. All right? Thank you so much. God bless and travel safe.
Thank you, Evan. I didn't believe you brought about to say back. You're a fleet soul.
I just want to thank a few people here quick. I want to thank Lebo. Let's give her a round of applause. I want to thank our photographer and videographer. Let's give him a round of applause. I want to thank Melissa and Paisa. You've got to check out on the website, right? They've got some amazing stuff. We will share contact details as well. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing what you do. Maybe next year we're going to have to take it a step further in terms of what we bring. I also want to thank Kicks for some of the goodie bags that they've given us here today. Thank you, sir. Over there. And I want to thank Pretoria University for allowing us to use this wonderful auditorium. I thank him.